What is going on, Don't Unfriend Me Nation? Matthew Spear from the Don't Unfriend Me Show, along with my good friend Leroy. What's up, buddy?
What is going on, folks? How we doing?
We're doing fine. Got a lot going on tonight.
You changed really fast.
That's what we do, man. I've got a from Kyoto, Japan, a disrober and clothes applier. And it's got some sort of name like is the name of the machine. I don't know what it is.
It was dedicated to like the magicians who change their attire in like 2 seconds flat.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's got breakaway pants and breakaway shirt. And then it's got self-magnetized buttons. And
wait, are you wearing pants?
No, I'm not wearing pants. But in this case, I just had to change my shirt. So I was never wearing pants. But I would enter the machine and it would rip off my breakaways and then remagnetize my clothing, my new clothing, and it's an instant change. Listen, it's just very complicated, okay? It's a lot of technology is involved in this process. Yeah. All right, folks. We're going to be back, hopefully with something a little bit more entertaining than that. I think it's going to be Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy tonight. Lots of information. It's kind of crazy. And the reason why it's crazy is because it has been nuts trying to rehab the house. We'll explain it. We've got photos. See you in just a minute. Terry, we're thinking about you, sending prayers your way. Of course, we're hearing that way too much. Cancer has officially entered my life. Everyone is just like bombarding me with messages. And they say when you get to a certain age that it just starts hitting and you know, people start dying versus start living. And you get to that 50-year mark and it's just people get sick and people you know. And I will tell you, I have heard the word cancer way too much lately and more than I've ever heard it in my life. So we're praying for you.
Hello everyone, good morning. Brandon from Still Point. Just wanted to give you guys an update on everything going on. Give a big hell yeah to Matt Spear from the Don't Unfriend Me Show. The Barry Morgenstein photo shoot. There's Leroy. Look at him, looking great. Olivia looking stunning as always. Look at there, baby. Rocking the lid. Barry has done photo shoots with kings, presidents, the Pope, rock and roll royalty, Jimi Hendrix. Come on now. It's so awesome that our music is finally catching on after all this time. And you know we're going to always keep on rocking in the free world, baby. Make sure you tune in to the Don't Unfriend Me Show every weeknight at 7 p.m. EST. The new stuff is dropping on all platforms very soon. We got it upload it now, but we're getting on the Spotify playlist. You know how you have to do that. So be on the lookout for that. Go download it. Go support Stillpoint, and go support the Don't Unfriend Me show. Matt, Leroy, Olivia, Amy, we love you guys. Ethan, baby, we love you. And we will see you all soon. We're getting everything ready, and it's going to be badass. We'll see you on the stage soon. Keep on rocking in the free world.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.
Old face. It looks different with the salt and pepper, you know? I haven't
Yeah.
I'm just looking older. Like I gotta dye the beard a little bit, you know?
I rarely do that. And occasionally when I do, we've had some of our listeners who have reached out and said, yeah, you do look younger. And so I'm not sure how to take that actually.
You look good with a beard. Goatee. Goatee
Thanks.
helps you. It matches your face. But I need to. I mean, I'm salt and pepper. I'm officially salt and pepper. My hair, though, I don't have a spot of gray in my hair. My eyebrows, real. This, it's just right here, and
Yeah.
you know. So I usually just I don't like it. Like if it was all gray, I just let it be gray. But since it's salt and pepper, I just put a little bit of the right there, and that's it. That's all I do. It doesn't matter. Oh, I'm tired. I'm tired because I'm sick and I've been busting my ass. And like, it wasn't like I didn't need a vacation already, you know? Now I need a vacation for my vacation. And it's tough. I haven't put out any videos. I haven't done any articles. I haven't done anything. And here's the truth. Facebook, we didn't talk about this. I didn't want to bum out anyone from the donations. But Facebook has completely, like, whatever revenue we were getting a couple $1,000s from a month. That's gone. Zero, zilch, nada. It's done. We've made $11 from Facebook this month. So it's over. And it's fine. We'll flex. We'll find a way. But this is where we're coming to y'all and understanding that we're having to take, we took Memorial Day off because it was fortuitous. One is that we shouldn't be on making money on a Memorial Day. And second of all, we had to build the office. Then we had the $20,000 show. Then we had, the show, the donations went to one of our listeners. And, so it's just been tight. So just letting everyone know, here's an update on the $20,000 renovation. A lot of people are like, Matt, how much did you guys keep from the donation? I'll tell you, negative $7,000. So I was telling this to Leroy, in order to do the room the way it needed to be done, and I was only going to do this once until the next phase. This was the first time we did this was our, $5,000 to $25,000 room. This is our $25,000 to $100,000 room because we'll probably put that much into it before we move again. And the next move is our $500,000 to $1 million move. And that's when you build your own custom studio, your own entryway, your parking lot, and everything else. That's next. So we're in phase 2. And Olivia and I sat down and we said, well, we're going to put money into this because there's other things we need and let's do it. So just to let everyone know, we've spent all $20,000 and 7 of our own. So the reason why is because when you see it, you'll understand. And it's going to have us have more of this in a completely different way. It allows us to record everybody's individual cameras. It allows us to switch cameras when people are talking, which is even better. Instead of having the 2-person look, it's like when I start talking, it'll show a picture of me talking. And then when Leroy talks, it'll flash to him. And very similar to other shows you've seen, it allows us to record individual cameras, separate audio, which is really important. So we can do mixing and do cuts of clips. But the problem is it's hard to do a clip when it's 2 of us in a window. Well, now we can run a clip and I can cut a 1 minute where Leroy says something and then Olivia chimes in and she laughs, or we all laugh, and I can bring in everybody in the same camera. So all these things, it allows us to run 12 cameras, 12 guests simultaneously, 12 different audio connections. It allows me to process videos about 300 times faster. So this new Mac that we got is a Studio Mac. It's the top of the line, and it can process Premiere videos, a normal 30-minute video if I want to cut, or a 5-minute video. To process that would take 15, 20, sometimes 30 minutes to an hour. Now it'll take 30 seconds. So we're just getting a lot of differences. We've got blackout room, soundproofing, full new studio lights, real lights, not cheap shit, studio, high quality lights, the same lights that Ben Shapiro uses and Candace Owens uses. Our cameras are getting an upgrade. Everything is just going to be better and more efficient. Uninterruptible power sources, all new cabling, all new wiring, network interface. There'll be a green room for people to come in and sit down and have a drink or whatever right off to the side. They can watch the show and sit down in a couple chairs and watch us record. All of these things are because of what you've done. So needless to say, we're doing some good things. Okay.
And that editing that you were talking about, that ability to change from one screen to the other in case somebody gives a reaction, there's a high degree of automation that goes along with that, correct?
As far as what again?
The
The editing?
being able to change. Yeah.
Yeah. So
not only the editing, but like
great question.
Shifting from say when you speak to my speaking, and if that is happening simultaneously, there's a high degree of automation that goes along with that.
That's
right?
correct. So right now I record the entire show audio through here, which is honestly, this would be $5,000 to $50,000. It's essentially, it's a radio station recording studio, and it allows me to have phone people in. It allows me to have sound effects. It allows me to have multi audio leveling here. I've got 8 different inputs coming in here. It's running all my video and audio through here. Then I've got 1, 2, 3 computers, and the computers are running the show here. You've seen the setup. You were here. I'm just telling you for everyone else. Side window is like my Zoom and stuff, and here's my research window. But on top of that, I've got this, which I don't use, which needs to be used, and this is going to be on my desk. And that's the Elgato Stream Deck, and it allows me to go ahead and switch scenes and everything from here. So now my computer will be across the room wireless, and it's going to be going into 2 75-inch TVs, which will literally be 10 feet in front of me, which that's like God space. I mean, I can have 100 different windows open, and then I'll have this and this. So no more computers. So that means my camera angle's different. I can start doing camera angles from the side. I can start doing a wide angle back, which we'll have. And it just changes the production value. And then second is I don't have to be constantly doing this, flipping through 70 different things. It's literally like playing piano and the saxophone at the same time. And that's the best way to you've seen me do the show, at least from what I have to do. And from setup and everything else, it's more automated. But really, it just allows us to bring in guests. You can't bring in a guest in this room. And now we can bring up to 6 people into our show, which is really, really exciting. Got a phone call, and we're going to listen to it real quick. Go ahead. Who is it? What do you want to talk about?
Hey, Matthew, it's Frank.
Hey, buddy.
How you doing, Frank?
Dude, I got info for you that you need to look up. Today I was watching Alex Jones, his segment, the 4-hour segment. During the segment, they were talking about killing birds, and I believe it was in British Columbia.
Okay.
This gal had a farm with all these ostriches, and she was talking about how they lived to be 75 years old, and they were all named. She had names for all of them. Well, check this out. The 2 names that I heard right off the bat were Ethan and Hayden.
No way.
No, why? Awesome.
I swear to God, look up the clip if you can. If you can find it, you will just freak out. When I heard
cool.
that, I did a double take, and I looked at the screen, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" So she's those were either random names, or she's a fan of the show.
Yeah, one of the two. I mean, it's hard to believe that it would be anything else. Thanks for telling me, man. I mean, that's kind of an interesting thing. You know, I mean, I wouldn't put it past. I mean, half the things that people do in this show just baffle me, you know? I've got some news I'll share too. Is Chuck here? Is Peterson here? Chuck Peterson? Frank, hang on the phone with us. Is Chuck Peterson in chat? Could you show us? Sorry, guys. I know we're a long intro, but it's been a long weekend, so we want to let people come on too. We got an interesting show tonight, trust me. Is Chucky on? Hold on. All right. So I just asked Olivia if she could grab this real quick. So, well, that's cool, Frank. So will you send me the link so I can take a look at this? That's kind of interesting.
That is cool.
I would if I knew how to do that, Matt.
All right. Well, just send me an email and just send
I'll
me the
have to
title.
get with my son. He's
Okay.
the tech genius in the family, and I'll try to figure it out.
It's
and
not.
I'll try and send
just
it
send
to
me an
you.
email. Just
But
say, give me the
tell you,
title.
dude, when I heard that,
Yeah.
I was just thrown aback. I didn't know what to think. I thought, no, there's no way that that's a coincidence.
No,
All right.
No, that's cool.
So I got
Thank you,
some.
Frank.
Yeah. Thank you, Frank. I appreciate it. I got something in the mail today. And I've got another package coming from Tonto, who is sending a full autographed shirt and book to my son and Chuck
Nice.
Peterson, fully autographed by Tonto. He's called it, hey, I'm sending your kid something. Oh, and I want to send something to Chuck too. What's the address? I'm like, fuck them. What about me?
Right.
So I got something in the mail today.
That's cool.
And this isn't that. So
Oh.
here's another reason why I'm not important.
Well, that's a good tease.
Yeah, well yeah. I'm gonna wait 1 second while I whip this out. Love you. Bye. So this is my copy.
Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, this is my copy. Like, it's flimsy and flaccid. It's a soft cover. I hate soft covers. But T.S. Dixon
Really?
sent me that. I like hard covers just from collection. From reading, soft covers are the way it's at. But I love, from a collection standpoint, hard covers. So all of a sudden in the mail, I get this hard cover from T.S. Dixon. And I'm like, oh, I'm so stoked. I can't believe he did it. He got me my autographed copy. And here it is. Here's the inscription. I'm so fucking excited. Listen to this. Dear Chuck. Chuck? What the fuck is who's Chuck? Thank you for your interest in the book. This material and your ongoing patriotism and conservatism. God bless you in your current health battle. My wife and I will be praying for you, brother. Also, thank you for your generous support of Matt and their effort to get the word out and educating about our republic. God bless you, T.S. Dixon.
That's awesome.
Chuck got a
How
hardcover.
great is that?
So I guess I got to get cancer in order to get a hardcover.
Don't say that.
Yes, I can. I can say that. Chuck understands. It's a joke. It's called humor. But no, I don't want cancer. So knock on wood. Did you knock on wood, Leroy? Reach between the legs, all 3 inches. There you go. So,
You can knock.
Frank, can you believe this? The Woke Mind Virus full copy, hardcover, like $39.99 for Mr. Chuck with a full autograph by T.S. Dixon. How cool is that, huh?
That is super.
You
dope.
are so lucky, dude.
That's cool.
I mean, the man loves you, obviously, and he's trying to take care of you. So
Yeah.
appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah. Oh, I certainly do. If anyone thinks that I'm remotely upset, you're wrong. So I'm not. When I saw it, I knew it was coming, and I thought it was awesome. So I think it's great, and he deserves it. And so he will, when he comes out to see the new studio, he'll be able to get his hardcover book from T.S. Dixon and Tonto. So may you choke on it. Frank, do you have anything else tonight besides ostriches that are named after my children?
No, sir. That was it. I really missed you guys last night. I was extremely depressed, but I didn't feel good anyway, so it didn't help. But
Yeah.
glad you're back on tonight. And Leroy, love you, brother. I never talked to
Thank
you
you,
hard,
sir.
but I always talk to Matthew.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I know. I feel jaded about that, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to need you to
Send him a book
make
and
some
autograph
extra
it.
special effort. Yeah.
Sandra,
have a
thank you.
mandate or something.
Sandra, thank you for your donation. Frank, we love you, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.
Thank you, Frank.
All right, man. See you.
All right, buddy. Bye. Frank, by the way, I know you're still listening. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
If you feel that way, you pick up the phone. You know that, right? You're having that bad day.
I know.
All right. Well, then next time, pick up the phone. Okay. Consider
No,
yourself.
it was. I just drank too much. It was no big thing.
That's okay. You can still pick up the phone even when you drink too much. Okay. We're here for you. Swim buddy. Swim buddy.
Hey, you don't want me to turn into
No.
Battle
just
buddy.
Swim buddy,
Yep.
battle buddy, or anybody. That's the rule, right? Got it?
love you.
Love you too, buddy. Bye. All right, so let's get into it. We got a busy show tonight. By the way, Sandra Edwards kicked us off with 565. Folks, needed more tonight than just about ever. Got to crush goal. Yes, thank you. Got to crush goal. Got to hit it. Got to hit it hard tonight. We need a good night. It's just need a good night. Lots of stuff. Okay, so let's get into this. Leroy, I have a question for you. I'm wearing this shirt in particular tonight.
I see that.
So please share, everybody, if you could, and like and subscribe. Do you believe in God?
I do. Grew up Roman Catholic. I was an altar boy for several years. Went to a Catholic school the first 8 years. So yeah.
Why? Why do you believe?
Why do I believe?
Yeah,
Is that the question?
that's the one.
I think that has to be a different answer for everyone, right?
Right.
I assume that everyone's relationship with God has got to be a personal thing. There's never going to be one answer that says this is why all Roman Catholics believe, because some people are going to read the stories of the Bible and take that to heart and say, yes, that is factually what happened.
Right.
Others may have something that happens in their life, which could be coincidental, could be metaphysical.
Existential.
The biggest hurdle that I think I have always struggled with is I'm a pretty scientific kind of guy.
Right, me too.
Right. I don't believe in things just for the sake of believing in them.
Right.
So, yeah, you could say some things have happened in my life that have caused me to say, yeah, I believe.
That's okay. So fair, but and God, it wouldn't shock me if a lot of those things align up from your experiences of mine, because it seems like every time we start talking about life experience, we're like Eagle River. Every time it's.
Wait, I was there.
Yeah, right. Eagle River. I know Eagle River. What, Bonnie Mayfield. I remember her in the back seat of that 72 Plymouth. So do I. I was there with you. Oh my God. Are you Bonnie Mayfield? I am. So there's a reason I ask. And a lot of people know that I'm, was estranged from my father before he died. And that was honestly self-choice. And probably a little selfish, in the sense that if my father really wasn't interested in me when he was coherent before his strokes, I can't imagine that he cared much for any other reason than he forgot who he was after the strokes. But unfortunately, with who I am, once you kind of burn me, you're burned. Right. You don't get any more chances. And it's an interesting thing when that person from California called my daughter to wish her happy birthday. And she's like, after saying, what did I do wrong? What did I do? I didn't do anything. I just want us all to be a family again. And Hayden's like, there's not going to be a chance in hell we're all going to be a family again. It's never going to happen. And Hayden's right. And she's like, you obviously don't know my dad. You're done. You're done. And once you put my family in jeopardy, you're toast. You're out of here. So I'm going to walk you through, and I wasn't asking you the question so I could go ahead and tell you my story and be like, oh, well, let me tell you why that's not my, it wasn't right. Really, it wasn't that type of question. It wasn't anecdotal, and certainly I wasn't trying to be reciprocal in my response, but I definitely want to just spark a conversation here. So, a lot of my family history, how my dad and I were Marine Corps and wanted me to be a football player, and everything he wanted me to be, I refused to be. And I did everything. I went in the Navy, for God's sakes,
I get it.
So I'm sitting here, and last night I go to Home Depot and I realize I have to hang this damn barn door. This barn door, they're 300-pound doors combined, both of them together, and they're 96 inches wide. I mean, these things are massive. And I got to run, a 100-pound rod, a rail. I've got to somehow make sure all the spacing is correct. All three are separate rails, so I got to make sure all the rails conjoin, but they're actually mounted in the studs. I mean, this is an impossible task. And I talked to a buddy of mine and who's a GC, And he's like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm putting in a barn door. He's like, well, what size? You can put in like a 36, a 48, you know, what are you doing? And I told him, I said, two barn doors, you know, 96 wide. And he's like, who's with you? And I said, nobody. And he's like, you're doing this by yourself? I said, yes. And he's like, dude, do you have some sort of general contractor license that I'm not aware of? Because you're going to have to go ahead and put, you're going to have to put a board behind everything. You're going to have to go into measure out your studs. You're going to have to put the individual brackets in. You're going to have to mount the rail. You're going to have to somehow manage this 150-pound door to make sure it's 3/18 of an inch off the floor. And you have 5/16 of a window for that rail to be off, where either A, it's going to work or it's not going to work. Oh, and it's got to be completely level. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to try. And this is pretty much what I do. I will tell you, it's been a monumental success, but I also had to learn how to cut metal. Never done that before. Had to get an axle grinder and cut it down. And obviously had to start off by putting this header board up. So I get to the header board and I buy it. I drive all the way to Home Depot. This is my 5th trip to Home Depot in 3 days. And it's 45 minutes away. And I get up there and I've got 2 3/4 inch galvanized 14 screws. And I drill in and I get this far from the head sinking and I hear, and I'm like, son of a bitch, I hit metal. So I pull it out and I'm like, fuck it, I'm going in the metal. I don't care. It's not going to be a power box. It's in a soft fascia, so it's not load bearing. There's no HVAC. I'm punching through this metal. It's definitely a joist, you know, join piece, and I'm just going to punch. I'm going to punch right through it. So I punch right through it, and my drill goes through, and I pull out. I go, will not see. It just spins, which means that I can't get a big enough drill in there, because once I go ahead and surpass the size of the screw, then it's not going to latch, and if it doesn't latch, then I'm screwed. Okay, so you understand? Okay, and I just break down in tears. I just get off the ladder and I just curl in a ball and I just start fucking crying, because it's been nothing but just shitty everything. Hayden was her birthday. We go to Texas Roadhouse. My steak was wrong 3 times. First time, it literally was seared. Psst, psst, then they sent it out to me. It was raw. I'm talking, and I love rare steak. It was raw. The next one I got was a hockey puck. The third one I got literally looked between a hockey puck. Like they had it on a cool side and a warm side of the grill. And I just said, you know what? Cool. I'll just eat the broccoli and I'm good to go. In fact, just get my daughter her cake. It was just a shitty 3 or 4 days. I go down to a ball and I start self-doubt kicks in. And this is where that borderline autism that I believe I have, kicks in, and I start reverting back to a juvenile. Negative speak, monosyllabic vocabulary, frustrated, pouting, upset, doomsday, you know, and this happens maybe once a year. And I'm completely a fucking mess. You've heard it on the show before we've started the show, where everyone knows, hands off, let Matt go through this and everything's going to be fine. So I'm sitting there in a ball and Olivia comes in, she goes, you have to take a break. You can't move. Your back is toast. You're sicker than shit. I can feel the heat coming off you right now. You've been working nonstop for 4 years, and now you're doing this, and there's not enough hours in the day. You're literally getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep at night. You have to stop. And of course, I can't stop. I got to do it all. I got to do everything. I'm all alone. And Noah's Ark and the gopher wood is out here, and I've got to build the ark. The flood is coming.
Right.
And of course, and she's just like looking at me like, no, I know you. You're going to crash. And when you crash, it's going, you know, you can't do this all yourself. And I'm like, we have to hire a contractor. Someone's got to come in and fix this. And we don't have the money. And now it's going to be another $10,000. And she's just like, let me know when this is over. It's going to be over. And so pick everything up, rinse off my brushes, do a sweep, put my tools back in their order. And I crawl into bed and I go to sleep, and I wake up this morning. So I get up, and there's a moral to this story. It's a long story, but I really, really have to set this up, because I can't be more honest than I am right now. So I get up this morning and I tell Olivia, and I'm up 7. Well, I was up at 4 and I couldn't go back to bed. So I'm sitting there And I'm like, honey, 7:45. So I wake her up because I don't want to wake her up before. So I just lay in bed, read my phone. And I roll over. I'm like, honey, I'm going to take the car. It's 15 minutes to the nickel and dime hardware store. 15 minutes back. I've put in 3 minutes each way in case I hit a truck. I'm going to go. She's like, I can't be late for work. I'm like, you're not going to be late. I got this. And of course, I was back at 8:14. 1 minute left. Give her a kiss, spank her on the ass. She gets out. I'm gone. And I've got my new screws. And I have a new outlook on life. And I go up to the board, and I put the board, I'm holding it up with one hand, and it's a 6-foot board, and drill in. And the screw doesn't seed onto the stud because it's not long enough. And I go, wait a second, it has to be long enough. I've done the measure. I got a 1/2-inch drywall. I got a 3/4-inch board. I got a 2.5 screw. Something else is wrong. And what it was is that the hole going into the stud is that the screw was spinning. And what happens is it was so hot, becomes malleable, and it's unable to catch because it's literally hardening the wood to a point where the screw point can't catch. And that's why we fire spears and fire boomerangs and everything else in tribal nations, because it hardens the wood. So it's an instant hardening process for wood. And if you just don't have the right amount of torque and the right amount of speed and the right amount of grip, it's not going to catch. And I'm done. I just fuck it. I drop my drill. I literally jump from the 3rd run, and just land. And I'm done. I'm done. Like, I literally want to sledgehammer the whole house. I'm just done. And now from that primal state of being a juvenile, I literally want to just be the guy who wrecks his own home. I'm pissed. I want to break shit. And then I just everyone's been there. I take a deep breath. And I sit in my chair. And I have no idea what happened. I've never done this before. I've been in situations where I should pray to God, from financial to possible ending of my life, or seeing a buddy get hurt and knowing that I'm next, and never prayed. Never. I think the only time I've ever prayed was for my children to come out safely during birth. And that was really it. I didn't even pray for my dad when he got sick. Because it's not a true prayer. And I know it's not a true prayer because the subconscious inside of me, when I'm saying, Lord, please, I'm saying, I know this isn't real. I know I don't mean this. This isn't true in my heart, but I'm going to do it just in case. And that is the way I think. And that subconscious, go ahead.
That just in case piece, right? That's that question that I think everybody has.
Yep.
And it was once described by Pascal, and it's known as Pascal's wager.
Yeah. Tell me.
Pascal's wager is a 4-grid, right? Series of boxes, like a 4-square kind of thing for those who used to play that, right? And it basically asks the question, what's your wager if God exists or if he doesn't exist? Because if he exists and you believe, the rewards are infinite. If there is no God and you still believe, well, there's no loss, right? But if there's no God and God exists, then there's infinite loss and you end up in the not good place. But if you don't believe in God and there is no God, then again, there's no reward and you're not out anything.
Right.
So that's literally the crux of the argument right there, is that Pascal claimed that humans bet with their lives on the existence of God.
Right.
And I think that's literally the opening of almost every prayer. God, if you're up there,
right.
Boom, that's it.
Yeah. It's a Wonderful Life, model.
Yeah.
God, I don't know if you're up there, but
right.
If you are, I need,
right.
So that's a perfect example. But here's the first time in life I did not make the Pascal wager. I didn't care whether he was or wasn't, or whether I was or wasn't. All I knew is there was something I needed to say, and it took me a process to get to. So I sat down and I put my hands together, and I didn't say, God, if you're real. God, I know I haven't prayed in a while. I just said, God, please grant me the patience to uncover what I need to do to solve these problems on my own with your grace. And the reason why is because I know I possess the ability. Because I know my Father taught me these things. I just can't remember. And I need him. And I'm sorry that I didn't accept him in my life and forgive him, but I need him now. And if you would not mind, I need him to know I love him and I forgive him. And it's a long time coming. I shouldn't have shunned him, and it's important. And I felt now just listen to me, because I am not this guy. I am not the guy that goes, well, I had a glass of water and I walked outside and said, I need water, God. And then it started raining and it filled up my glass. It was a miracle. Okay, I'm not those people. I'm not, this isn't a 976. This isn't the 700 Club. I'm just giving you a series of coincidences that can't possibly be a coincidence. And I'll tell you why. I've told this story many times, the soap trick on a screw. Soap on a screw. That whenever you're in a situation where you are putting a screw into the wood and you see slippage, or you get what is known as a cinch, it's like a seize from the screw in the hard wood, where, and no matter what you do, you hit your drill and it sounds like you're changing a tire on an F1, it's an Indy 500, your screw is cinched. And if you can back up, well, you know it's not caught. You know it can't go any further because of the process I told you about of superheating the wood inside. It's too hard, can't puncture. And a week before this, and I've told this story on the show, if you're ever in a situation like that, go get a bar of soap from your shower, flip up the scummy side, the one that's really soft, and get the tip of your screw and just put a little bit of soap in the threads, reseat and drill, and it'll go in like butter. And it'll cool the hole, but it also, the soap does not have a burn point and therefore creates a lubricant like oil. You don't want to put oil in there because that doesn't work. And you put in the viscosity of the soap, just works perfect, and it just greases your channel and you go right in. So I know this. I've told this story 1,000 times. I've told friends. So last week at the diner, I told Mike this. Mike, older Mike, Vietnam, special forces guy.
I remember Mike.
Yep, you know Mike. And Mike, son of a bitch, I didn't know that. So then today, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, and all of a sudden it hits me, soap on a screw. I just told the story a week ago. It wasn't even in my head, but I knew it. It was there. So I go upstairs, thread the screw, go in, all six, just sink like butter. Stage one's complete. Then it came down to, okay, well, I've got this many holes, and I've got to measure from the floor all the way up to make sure that the rail, how do I do that? I don't know how to do that. That's impossible. How do I hold this and look up? And I'm like, well, and immediately my dad's words come to me, measure from the top, because the top is the shorter route. And then go ahead and subtract it, and you get your nominal number. Then measure from the holes, you know where your studs are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then put up a laser and draw a line. And now go ahead and take that measurement and subtract it, and you're going to know your space, 5/16 of an inch between your hole and your runner. Leroy, I didn't know any of that, but somehow I found the answer. It's not the first time. I also had 3 pieces of metal 16 feet long combined, and they are joined by 4 rivets, and you put a little railroad track in, and you use an Allen wrench, and you bring them together, and you create one rail. Well, that rail's 16 feet. How do you measure on that against a 12-foot wall to know where your cut needs to be? Okay, well, you measure the wall, then you lay it down and measure. Well, that's fine and dandy, but the problem is that your center line in your house isn't correct. It's off by 2 or 3 inches to the left or to the right. How do you know that? Well, mount your centerpiece. Didn't think about that. Don't even put the other 2 sides. Okay, mount my centerpiece. Now, how do I measure? So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to measure the gap and try to break. All you do is take the piece, flip it over, and measure the gap between, and then mark your pencil line, flip it back over, and that's your cut point. And then you're going to have a perfectly sized piece. I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about that. So then I get that up and I get the door. And I'm like, I got to keep the door 3/16 off the floor the entire time. How? So I get a ladder. And I put it up straight, get my level, make sure it's level. I put a ladder up on the side and it holds it up for me. I'm the only person there. And then I just get 2 stir sticks, break them apart, wrap them in tape, and I put them underneath and I have a 3/16 wedge. I didn't know that. I didn't know how to do that. All right. So all this time I'm like, okay, so I have a muse, divine intervention. Bob Villa is there with me. He's my guardian angel. He's watching over me and I'm getting everything. Okay. So I then call Mike. And I'm like, Mike, and this was before I talked to him. And I said, dude, I just did something I haven't done before. I prayed, talked to my dad, and I did this, and I'm really, really proud. And he said, well, what did you do? And I said, well, do you remember the soap? And he immediately interrupts me. He goes, the soap on the screw trick. I remember you telling me about that last week. You want to know what just happened? And I haven't told him yet. I'm like, what? It's like 5 minutes ago. I was on YouTube and I was surfing YouTube, looking up videos, doing what I do every morning. And 2 guys came on, 2 carpenters, and talked about the soap on the screw and how to go ahead and solve the problem that you just had. Mike was coming over literally to help me and check work and all that other stuff. So I look at the series of coincidences and I look that Mike was looking at that video and I look that I asked for help. And then I literally felt the best way to describe it, man, is that somebody was guiding my hand. Kyle talked about that when he was a sniper, that he felt like somebody was guiding his shots to save people. And I cannot describe it as anything other than a presence that was different than any other presence I've ever felt before. And it literally felt for the first time that I had prayed on something that I had earned because there was a little sacrifice in my prayer and I was not thinking about me. In the prayer, it really became the focus of my Father. And I had to ask myself the question, is that enough to establish the existence of God? I don't know. But what it does tell me is that I do believe that I felt something that was outside my ability. And if you look at this thing, Leroy, and you saw the schematics, you would know that this is complex to do. It's not an easy thing to do. And I've never done it before. I've never used an axle grinder. If you saw this cut that I made, it's just these little things that happen and the perfection of the install. When I step back and I look at it, Leroy, it looks like my Father's work. And that is what absolutely fucking floored me. It looks like my dad's work. It doesn't look like something I could ever accomplish. I'm going to shut up. It's something I wanted to bring to this story, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, there's some serious parallels that one can pull out of all of that, that suggests that carpentry work, and you'll understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That carpentry work is one of those things that, Jesus was a carpenter. So
yeah.
I would say that if you're asking if you're asking him, if you're praying to God and to your Father, and all of that kind of came about, yeah, that's a very compelling case for such. Yeah.
It's just hard to fathom because I know it looks simple.
Yeah.
But it's not. This process is, just so much can go wrong. Just spacing on the floor. The floor wasn't level, by the way. The floor has a 2% downgrade. There's no reason this thing should have come out level. It doesn't rub anywhere. It doesn't bump anywhere. It glides like a baby's ass. It's perfect. It's perfect. And I'm sitting here and I'm trying to explain it in human terms. But dude, you don't go out and make a 700-yard shot by luck.
No. All right.
I've sent people tens, hundreds of thousands of rounds downrange. You don't just pick up a rifle and hit a 700 mark. You just don't do it. You can try all day long, but if you don't know what you're doing, and your rifle's not zeroed in, you ain't accidentally going to hit a target at 700 yards.
No.
And in my opinion, it quantified and qualified the existence of God for me. I'm not going to beat around the fucking bush. And then throughout the rest of the day, I was trying to watch my mouth, and I was like, but it was real. It wasn't fake. Even just then I cussed. I'm like, I don't like the way like something just clicked, and I can't explain it. But people like alcoholics would call it a moment of clarity when they're, they have a moment of clarity. This was just, I felt the presence of God. Never felt it before in my life. Or I ignored it most of the time in my life. Right.
I think, that is probably a bigger part of, what most adults struggle with, is maybe at some point they feel like something is supposed to go a certain way and they willfully ignore it. So there was this movie back in, oh God, when did that come out? 1991, 92. And it was called Grand Canyon. Starred Danny Glover. And part of it deals with the existence of God and the arguments to or against. And basically, just like what you're describing, everyone has that moment. And there's this scene in the movie where, beautifully portrayed, where this woman who is on the cusp of being an empty nester. She's got a troubled marriage. She's out jogging one day and she finds a baby. And there's no one around to claim it. She just finds a baby in the woods, takes it home, like treats it like it's her kid, gives it a bath, doesn't call the authorities, nothing like that. Husband comes home, they get in a fight about it. A few days later, she's going on another jog, and this strange bum, scraggly hair, holes in his jacket kind of thing, is just talking randomly. As she's jogging, and it's down this alley, and he's coming kind of opposite her. And as he's mumbling, right, as she runs by, he says, "Keep the baby." And it's things like that you go, whoa, like, you can't discount it at that point.
No.
Yeah.
No, Darla says, in my memory, is if this is correct, Matt, you were not sure about the Lord. No, I think I need to be very, very sincere here. I always believe Jesus Christ walked the earth. I just question I question the stories. And I look at it this way, is that none of us can comprehend God. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a God. He would be a man. He'd be human. He'd be mortal. So the stories and the parables are designed so our limited human capabilities can comprehend God, at least from a very primal and instinctual standpoint. But like from the metaphysical and existentialist standpoint, we can't even scratch the surface of God, like Leroy said earlier. So it's not that I question God, because I understand the variables. Here's the roll of the dice. To put it the best way I know how, which Charlie Kirk did beautifully on Bill Maher the other night. And I'm going to use Charlie Kirk. Charlie basically said, you have an infinite amount of the universe. And the variables of consequence are so insurmountably impossible to fathom in order for humans to be here. The recipe for humans to be here is so extremely, profoundly impossible to replicate that every single known and unknown square of the conceptual universe could roll these equations in a multiplicative fashion, exponentially, times infinity, and we will never, ever achieve what we have as of today, let alone tomorrow.
Right.
From DNA to noble gases, to the sequences of gases, to the subatomic particles that have to be in the atmosphere for this to happen, for the DNA and the DNA to line up to be cohesive with all of the subatomic particles, to the periodic table, to the natural elements, to the heat index, to the oxygen levels, to the carbon dioxide levels, to the food sources, to the combustion of food, to photosynthesis, to protoplasts and cytoplasms, and the animal kingdom, and we could just go on and on. The energy transfer of carbon to a life is impossible to replicate in any theory. It is one of the only things that you can't even put into a mathematical equation to figure out, because simply starting the mathematical process is beyond the comprehension of anything on this planet times infinite sources. If you want to think that that was all done by chance, fine. But I am going to go ahead and say that the most probable explanation is that there was some sort of blueprint created for that to happen. And if it was, then it wasn't by chance. And if it's not by chance, then that means it had intent. And if it had intent, then it's something with a conscience. And if it's something with a conscience, it's not human. Frank Wood donated. Leroy, I'm a recovering Catholic. I love my relationship with God. We all find our own way. $51.99. Thank you. Do you guys just understand what I just said? Did you hear what I just said? Because Charlie Kirk didn't say it better. I did. Charlie did really well. I just expanded on it, and I had some time to think about it, because those equations being happenstance and just random. So when you ask me, do I believe in the Lord? Yes. I believe in a superior something with consciousness that I can't possibly fathom and understand. And if that is considered to be Jesus Christ in a more human form, so I could understand the word of God, then so be it. Does it mean I have to believe every scripture, every piece in the Bible? No, I don't believe that. Do I have to believe that humans were perfect who brought the word of God? No, I don't. I just have to understand is that I don't know, and because I don't know, it just may be. Joanne, thank you for the donation. Leroy, are we together here?
Oh, absolutely. I think that again, he reveals himself to everyone in their own time and differently, and you have to be open enough in your own heart to accept certain things and to not overthink them. Yeah. The miracle of people is, I don't know. I think to Charlie Kirk's point, I mean, the idea that, out of the entire universe, that so far we're the only ones that, are the way we are, that we're the only life forms, the odds of that suggest a higher power, a higher creational power.
It has to, because if you are a scientific mind, chance is not a probability. It's not a probability. It's an improbability. Chance is an improbability.
Yeah.
John Stillwell donated $10. Great to see you guys on tonight. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Really think about that. Chance is an improbability. It's not that improbable that it happens, is that chance being the reason is improbable, because there's too many factors involved for it to be simply chance. Listen, you don't get an explosion with black powder unless you have some very simple things. You need oxygen, you need heat, and you need a combustible. Those three things creates an explosion. An explosion that wipes out the entire universe, parsing the atoms properly and the periodic table and the elements that we have on this planet to align them all back into a series that are the building blocks of carbon for everyone in the universe. To have the earth, which is a living, breathing thing. It has blood, which is its water. It has its heat source, which is digestion for most people, which is its inner core and plasma. It has all of its replenishment of its skin, because that's the land and the earth. It breathes. We know this. It gets sick. It changes course. It has a personality. It rebels. It fights. The earth is a living, breathing thing. It is an organism. And we are monopolizing ourselves on it to a level that is benefiting as we are some sort of host and parasitic relationship with the earth. But so is everything else that's here. It's just too effing random, folks. From human beings to antelope to insects to plasmoids to shellfish to microbiology to nanobiology. From gestational periods of human beings to elephants, the differentials between the common things in life are so improbable because they're so variant in their degrees of outcome. I mean, just think. On the same planet, you have human beings and a flying bird. Think about that. Just the vast difference. So you had to create a perfect bipedal, opposable thumbs, high IQ, motor skills and ambulatory skills that are off the charts, fairly slow, not even close to the strongest, but uses its mind to be successful, versus a bird, which honestly has very little thought, which has, syncretic thought process, which is based upon routine, which is DNA driven with very little independent thought, but also is a navigator that can fly and do things that any jet can't do.
I was just going to say.
You take the most complicated jet. Go ahead. Yeah.
The most simple organism in the world, or one of the most simple organisms in the world, and we struggled for centuries to figure out, how do they know to fly south?
Yeah.
And why do they fly in formation? And we didn't answer that one until like the last 100 years.
Right. So there's so many. Listen, there are organisms. There's brine. There's shrimp that live next to sulfuric magma ports at the bottom of the ocean. It's 900 degrees, and there are shellfish, crustaceans, shrimp, brine that feed off the sulfur in 900-degree water. Please explain to me how that's possible. Could you imagine human beings adapting to 700 degrees Fahrenheit on the Earth's surface? Could you ever?
Democrats would have you say that, or would have you.
Go ahead. Oh shit! Did you lock up?
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you froze. Go ahead. Say it again.
Oh, I was just going to say, Democrats would have you believe that that's the next step in global warming.
Right. 700 degrees.
That's the next evolutionary step, is that we're all going to be subjected to feed that way. 900 degrees in the bottom of the ocean.
You know what's funny is that Neil Tyson deGrasse would come on here and he would just simply say that these are people who simply have discovered fire for the first time. And this is where Neil Tyson deGrasse doesn't understand. And he's so smart that he doesn't understand the most basic concept. We're not deer caught in headlights. We're pretty profound thinkers. This is a normal thought process for Leroy when he's alone reading a book and he reads something and goes, oh, and then we'll just sit there for an hour and just think and contemplate. I know, because I do the same thing. And
I do it all the time.
We as intelligence specialists, we were born to circumnavigate improbabilities and pontificate problems without solutions. That's what we do. And it's a gift. And so for us to simply, we're a tribal Amazon forest tribe who finds a Bic lighter that washes up on shore that creates sparks, and we're fire. Oh no, you provincial putz. It's a matter
it's
that
a little more profound than that.
Right. It is profound. It's in the sense that it is that if you recognize how random everything has to be in a scientific world, which is based upon algorithms and equations and geometry and trigonometry and calculus, which is all based on numbers, and that every number is equivalent to a solution in the right sequential order with the right with the right structure and sound reasoning of deduction, then science disproves itself, doesn't it? Doesn't science state that there is no chance that all of this is to chance? Wouldn't it disprove that? Because what you're saying is like a volcano just works because it does. That's faith. But if you say that there is a liquid core, and based upon the gravitational force of our gravitational field and our once state of being a liquid, gases that basically mix to a point of a threshold where they chemically were a catalyst to create from a gas to a liquid to a cooling solid, and then ultimately we understand how the earth was created from a scientific standpoint, then volcanoes have a reason of existing as essentially a vent to a furnace that if it does not release the pressure it's building, that it would explode. So it has a transfer of energy from point A to point B. This is thermodynamics. So if you can just tell me what a volcano is, then you have to be able to solve everything else that's unknown. And science cannot do that. So therefore, you can't just say, oh, it's chance. Because that's what Neil Tyson, anything he can explain with science is just chance. That is where I am saying people need to live between the sounds, and I'm going to shut up, where you make a gong and you hear it, and you hear it, and then you don't hear it. You have to live between where the sound ends and silence begins. That is where God lives. Listen to what I just said. Sound ends and silence begins. Where's the middle? There is a point between both of them where one happens and the other happens. That's where God has to be, because it's an unexplainable. You can't explain it. Neil Tyson goes, well, sound ends and sound begins is the same thing. No, it's not. Go ahead, Leroy.
I think that what most people, when they're trying to contemplate something like that, they either fall back on what they were taught as a child, or if they're even a tiny bit philosophical, those are questions that they'll try to answer for themselves as they grow, right? And ultimately you have this debate, this ongoing debate between every adult, between atheism and believing, right? And the issue is that with most atheist arguments, they will say, okay, God does not exist. Okay, why doesn't God exist? And there's two schools of thought there. There's the school of thought of, well, because it's impossible, and it's clearly not an academic thought. There's no scientific evidence to support, blah, 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 blah. Goes on forever, right? Or if you do approach it from the scientific point of view, the very same scientific method that has answered every question that we have up to this point in humanity, right? Let's use lightning, for example. At some point, some scientist was told, all right, we're going to explore this. Now, the atheist would say, oh, it just is because. What do you mean? That's not enough. Like, give me more, right? And so then there's that scientific reasoning that has to start kicking in. And the more questions that you ask, right, eventually you come down to, okay, lightning exists because of this, right? That very same methodology, right, says that just because you haven't found the answer to whether or not God exists or not yet, doesn't mean you stop looking.
Right.
And that's the wisdom that most men struggle with. That's the answer, with that at some point at the end of the day, you're like, I just don't know if I have it in me to really pour enough thought into this. Right. But at the end of the day, if you can't just give up and say, I haven't found the answer yet, and so therefore I'm just going to remain an atheist. No, that's not good enough.
Right.
Right. You haven't found your answer yet, then, is what you're saying.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I could have said it better myself. It's Ethan. Bobby, I don't have your message. I'm sorry. PayPal's been weird. It's only giving us some of the messages. So E, go ahead and just put in Bobby's for me too. And then hey, E, come here. Sorry, folks. E's helping me tonight. You got Joanne. 1080 for Joanne. Did you put Put that in. Joanne.
Wait.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Frank,
Yes, I got Frank.
Christine, and Sandra. Yeah, you've done all those.
Yeah,
So just put in Bobby for me.
Okay, Bobby.
Yes. Yep, 51.99. Thank you. I don't know her message. Just put I love the dumb show, y'all. They're my favorite, because that's what something she would say. Okay. So people may ask, why are we having this conversation? We're having this conversation because I don't know if you guys realize, but God's making a comeback.
Yeah.
People are seeking God's grace. I think people are scared. I think people understand that the answers that were promised to them through science and through DEI and progressive socialism and all the other bullshit and white fragility, that all of it didn't work. And I think people are saying there has to be something else out there. And maybe God is having more of an influence in people's lives because maybe he realizes that he needs to be here. That maybe this experiment has gone awry. And influencing people and influencing his children is needed. But I don't know. All I know is that today I felt God. And I felt the hand of God.
Good.
And I can't explain to you what that means, but I'm not ashamed of it. And I'm not embarrassed. And I'll tell you, whenever I felt like, thank you, Bobby, that I've had that feeling before, I've always been ashamed to say, Jordan Peterson, in my opinion, for all the great that he has done, did one of the most embarrassing things ever, is that he was afraid on the stage to say unapologetically that he loved God. And to me, he made a huge mistake. And he allowed some punk-ass kid to corner him where he was afraid to say, I believe in God. To me, that's what I never wanted to be, is the guy who said, oh, I love God, and then all of a sudden be ashamed. I'm not ashamed to say that today I felt the presence of God, and I will tell you, I don't want to lose it. Does that mean that I'm going to stop cussing? No. Does that mean that I'm going to all of a sudden, just sit around and have frank and incense flying around all over the place, and I'm going to start drinking sacramental wine and go talk to a guy in funny clothes? No. But I will tell you that I am going to focus more on the development of my soul, which may ultimately impact the show. That's my point. Fair?
I'm here for that. I am here for that.
Yeah. I'm excited. I've realized what's wrong is I don't know how to let go, and it is killing me. Like I'm going to have a heart attack if I don't learn how to just.
Say you have a hard time letting go. Do you mean like forgiveness?
Well, all of it. Yeah. I think forgiveness of myself, forgiveness of the people around me. Like my mother is still alive, and I will never, ever reach out to her. But I need to stop feeling guilty for that. Like I either need to embrace it or I've got to go and fix it. Right. And so today, the guilt that I had for not reaching out to my dad, which was honestly to protect my family and protect my kids, because I couldn't stand having that disappointment of him never being there and lying and saying, oh, I will be, and doesn't show up. And just the way that he belittled my children, it's just not a good idea. I went through it, and
sure.
I didn't want them to go through it. And when my daughter came to me in tears one day and said he won't stop making fun of me, he won't stop picking on me, I just said, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. But yes, to answer your question, forgiveness of others and forgiveness of myself for sure.
You don't necessarily have to believe in God in order to get some of the lessons out of the Bible.
Sure.
That are, moral or to kind of give you some level of direction in life.
It's a great
and one
point.
of the things that I got out of some of what Jordan Peterson had actually said was that, what does the Bible actually say about your parents? Does it say you're supposed to love them? Or does it say you're supposed to honor them? Because those are two different things. And you can honor somebody and never have them over. You can honor someone and, do that at a distance. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit that you can still pull from the Bible, even from a borderline atheistic point of view.
Yeah.
And still have a fulfilling life.
Yeah, and you answered the Jordan Peterson video. I can't wait for you to see it because I want you to rehash this because
I'd love to.
he could have simply just said, I don't have to be a Christian to support and endorse the word of God. You just said it best. I thank you, Thomas. You can be a purveyor and a studier of Christianity and an advocate for Christianity. I have always, even though I have not believed myself, I have always been an advocate for Christianity. You know this. I've always said, I respect your beliefs. I care about, I make fun of Amy because she's a fake Christian because she's Catholic. Joke. But you know, I love people of faith. I don't care what your faith is. I don't care if you're Muslim. I don't care if you're a Jew. I don't care if you're a Gentile. I don't care if you're whatever, Orthodox, Baptist. Who cares?
Yeah.
Lutheran.
And I think you and I have a lot of the same gripes with people who take it maybe just a little bit. I don't want to say too far, but for the sake of, I don't know, we'll say. And I'm not assigning this to Amy or anybody, any of the dummies who are listening, but for the sake of intellectual laziness to fall back and say, oh, it's God's will. See, I'm going to need a little bit more than that when you're having a discussion about either the existence of God or why this person got cancer as opposed to this other person, or why bad things happen to good people or vice versa. Right. It's got to be something a little more profound then, well, it's just God's will. Now we need to dig into that. And I think that's where I think there's a fair amount of criticism for that perspective can be called into play. Like I really think the people that just leave that kind of thing to chance, that's not necessarily.
Yes.
I don't think that's what the lessons that we're getting out of the Bible were intended to be.
Here's I'm going to expand on that just real quick. I believe that human beings started being afraid to say the words, I don't know, when it came to God. That somehow it made them seem less of believers or less of followers and worshipers of the Lord because they didn't have the answer. When men started filling in the blanks without knowing, and God did not explain it to them and used human interpretations to understand an omnipotent being, I think it would be wonderful if priests and preachers would go back to saying the words, I just don't know. When people say the Lord works in mysterious ways, those aren't just about blessings. They're also about the things that we might consider to be curses. And we have to understand that our minds can't understand the complexity of these things. And it's not that we're too simple or it's not that we're too stupid. We're not designed to think about these things because we're not gods. We're not omnipotent. Right. We are subjects to, unfortunately, our own free will.
The rules of physics and biology.
Right. I'm really excited. And Chuck said, I need to heal the relationship with my mother. That will never happen. It will not. And it's not because of my own selfishness. It's because that woman is dangerous. And I will not have her around my children. I will not allow her to do what she did to me. I will not. And I gave her that chance. She's had that chance. The woman is clinically insane in every single way. And I don't trust her. And I will not have her around my kids in any facet. Because the moment she does, she will do exactly what my sister does. She will try to latch on to my children's hearts and souls and turn them against us. And that's what she'll do. She'll do it. And she will be successful because she is great at it. She did it to me. She did it to my sister, did it to my brother. And perpetually, for our entire lives, we have been stuck in this state of flux where we try to destroy each other. And the reason why is because of her. And I've just removed myself from all of their lives. And I became the magnanimous one because they tried to take me out of it. And I finally just said, okay, I'll go willingly. I don't talk to my brother. I don't talk to my sister. I don't talk to my dad. I don't talk to my mom. And you have to ask yourself the question, if all these people are not in your life, maybe you're the asshole. No. Not in this case.
You know,
not in this case.
1986, 87 were the pivotal years in my life when it came time for that kind of thing. That was when my parents divorced. And what Matt is describing is exactly what I think happens a lot of times with children of divorced parents, where, you know, one parent may try to demonize the other I mean, I think that's probably more common than anyone would expect.
Yeah.
And it's not until years and years and years later when you start, really trying to shake off some of your childhood where you think to yourself, man, was my dad really that bad? Or was
Right.
my mom really that great?
Right.
Or do I have like a hero complex over one? And, maybe my dad really was better than she's saying that he was. And maybe my mom at some other point wasn't as great as she said that she was. And so that's when things start to level out and you start to, apply a little bit of reality to the situation. And the more grounded it gets, then the more you're capable of dealing with, someone like a Matt's mom or even my mom. And just kind of step back a little bit and put a little perspective on situations and realize that it's okay to love people at a distance. Love them in your own way. But the one thing that you can't do is let it disrupt your peace or your current family.
Yeah.
If it costs you your peace, then it's too expensive.
I love the conversation, man. I wanted specifically this for a reason. I wanted to have that conversation. It was important to me to do it. I hope you feel the same way. It's a profound conversation, and one that people need to have more often. I've got some satellite photos to show you.
Wait, what?
I got some satellite photos to show you. Yeah.
Oh, snap. That doesn't look like. That's a problem right there, folks.
So it's so funny that these blue tarps really do look like they're in shape of a destroyer. Or a frigate. Or a frigate. Or a very large non-submarine. What are we looking at here, Leroy?
So on Friday, news had come out that actually it might have been Thursday. The news had come out that during the inaugural launch of a North Korean warship, that they tried to send this thing into the water on its side. And that's a little bit of a risky maneuver. Most of their ships have all been launched from the bow first because it's a safer option. In this case, they were trying to launch this ship from its side, slide it into the water, and something went wrong. And when that something went wrong happened, it was in front of Kim Jong-un and an entire population of reporters and media and witnesses who were there to observe this grand, publicity stunt, because that's what it is. That's what Kim Jong-un loves to do, is to hold a publicity stunt where they can point to this and say, look at this amazing thing that we can do that the United States never gave us credit for. And on that launch, the thing falls on its side and is now heavily damaged on one side and slowly sinking. They're not even sure if they're going to be able to raise this up out of its current position. It was a 5,000-ton warship, and after the incident, Kim Jong-un had made an immediate public statement where he was quoted as saying, I've got it right here. Where did I put the quote? Here it is. This is a Kim Jong-un quote. This is a serious accident and a criminal act that could not have happened and could not be made tolerant due to pure carelessness, irresponsibly, and unscientific empiricism, according to Kim Jong-un. So what he's basically saying there to the world in not so many words is who's going to be held responsible for this, them and probably their entire family is about to be relieved of life as it is.
This thing has officially rolled over. There's a few things about this too. And in explaining this is on this inlet, by the way, Kim Jong-un's wife.
That's his daughter.
Yeah, if you look at his wife, she's nothing, but the daughter is gorgeous. Also, my understanding is completely crazy, just like her husband or her dad. But she's beautiful. But this thing, the one thing that you need to understand is with a side roll is that the way that a frigate, destroyer, even an aircraft carrier is very different than a submarine. A submarine is designed to sink, and an aircraft carrier and a frigate and destroyer, et cetera, are not. And that's because of its ballast. And in fact, you only really see about 50, 60% of the vessel, because the other, 40%, 50% is underneath, which is the ballast. And when you put a submarine into the water, you don't put it in on its side because it'll ultimately just roll. And you launch it either aft or forward front first. And submarines are usually not front. They are usually aft first. And most ships will go in aft first as well, because the ballast is usually the heaviest at the front and has the most buoyancy. And that is because that is the part of the vessel that cuts into the waves and moves up and is the reinforced portion. So when you put it on its side, what you get is something that happens is when it goes in, other ships will go in and then do this. On military vessels, the way it's cut is that it's usually a sharp point like this on their vessels. But if you look at like cruise ships and such, they usually have this curved, so they can do this. Well, military ships, when they go like this and that ballast swings up, it wants to make it fall. So it's a very dumb maneuver when you make it so top heavy that the transfer of power, ultimately that ballast catches inertia and will flip your ship. So you always go aft or forward.
Well, and it's funny you say that too, because it had never been done before.
Right.
They had never attempted this before. And even here in the United States, when we do something like this, a side launch of vessels relatively close to that size, we have a different kind of methodology for it. But anything bigger than that, and they won't even launch a ship that way. What they'll do is use a graving dock. And which is a graving dock it's a type of dock where you can put a vessel in. It'll be hard supported with timber or iron struts, right? And then it will be lowered, allow the water, the vessel will pick up its own buoyancy. Then they'll just tow the graving dock in away from underneath the ship, and then all you're left with is this floating vessel. But they didn't do that here, and it's because they don't have any graving docks. They don't have any docks that will support a vessel of that size. So this is a really dumb maneuver for the North Korean military to even attempt something like this.
And this CGI model from the press just baffles me, because that's not what the fucking undercarriage of a boat looks like. But it's nonetheless, let's assume it's to a point.
Right.
You sunk my battleship. But the point is here.
A few pieces there.
Yeah, just a few. The prop is gone, by the way, if this is the case. But it doesn't matter. The point is that this whole period of dropping at a 45 isn't going to happen because the weight distribution of this vessel is not at center. So you're going to see a drag. And you're going to see the backside probably slip first, as it does in the second image. See? And then that inertia of that backside, the front catches up and then creates enter the water. So once it enters, you heard what Leroy said, its buoyancy is going to take over. Once it buoyancy, it's going to pop it up. So I want you to imagine that you're sliding in like this. This goes in here. It comes up and then comes back down to the side. Watch the dip. The second diagram, even though the ship's anatomically incorrect, watch. See, the buoyancy of the ship. Yeah, it just basically, once it touches the water's current, the water's overall grip, because that's what it is. It's not displacing water at that point anymore. The water is surrounding and wants to take the boat. The best way I can describe it to you is that when you have a glass and you go ahead and push it straight down, there's a pocket of air that you can take up into the point where the glass is entirely covered, and even down, and you can create a little submarine. We used to do it with rubber rafts, and we'd take rubber rafts and we'd walk around the bottom of the pool and sit there and breathe through the thing, right? You can do that. You can take a pocket of air and do that. But when this water grabs and that water comes rushing in, it's going to want to pull it down. And that's what happens. And it takes the front, creates this resistance at the backside, which stops it from sliding equally. Now, there are vehicles that will put inflatable ballasts on the side of the vehicle. And these are usually smaller type vessels. So when they go in and they slide side, which they sometimes do, they'll have, attached to the side of it. So when it tilts, it'll push back up because of buoyancy. But that's not on big vehicles like this. I mean, the size of the fucking balloons that you would need to have on the side of this thing would be the Empire State Building in order to have an effect. This was just a shitty launch. It was a stupid launch. This should be put into a dry dock. A dry dock being that water can be pumped out of it and be completely dry and then refloated, and put back out to sea. North Korea doesn't have these capabilities. That thing's toast. They ain't getting it out.
Yeah. No, and it's going to be a hell of a salvage effort. I mean, they sunk God knows how much into that, and whatever cutting edge systems North Korea can probably muster up, which is probably largely commercial off the shelf type stuff. But all of that is just now going to be wasted. And it's very unlikely that they'll be able to salvage that and make it somehow seaworthy again. I just don't see that happening.
Was that a nuke? Was that nuclear?
I don't think so. No, that was
sure?
That was gas turbine. Yeah, that was a smaller vessel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know, because I know they're a nuclear power. You would think that they, would trying to create nuclear, vessels.
I can't even.
China doesn't. Nobody else does that.
On what a sailor in the North Korean Navy, what they would like. There's no way. You'd just be marching right into, what's the name of that? The Ukrainian.
Oh God.
Yeah, that one. It'd be like just irradiating your nuts all day.
Yeah. What was the name of that? Gosh darn it.
I know. I'm so tired.
Oh, I am too. Yeah, I remember.
Folks, today's episode is brought to you by Doomsday Lemonade. Right? Because when you're the little rocket man and you try to launch a ship and it fails, it's time for some nice, cool, refreshing Doomsday Lemonade.
Wasn't the K-19 Widowmaker or some shit? That was.
Yeah, that was Russian.
Yeah, that was Russian. Yeah, the K-19, and wasn't Harrison Ford in that? It was just horrendous. And you're like, dude, you did
terrible accent.
Hunt for Red October, and you're supposed to be Russian. You do not even sound Russian.
That had Liam Neeson in it too.
Yeah.
He was the XO.
Which is another person who does not sound Russian,
No.
In any way, shape, or form. But that's something to think about. A video, Howard Danielle Pfeiffer, former Obama staffer, had something to say. I know you wanted to get to this video.
Lost new voters.
Shut up. Let's go ahead and listen to him. Minute 17. And we've got some other things to show you tonight. Folks, we are surprisingly $193 to donation. We sure can use it. We've had almost 4 nights off, and we are ready to go. We gotta start making a little bit of scratchy. So if you have a chance, you haven't donated in a few nights, maybe you can help us out. Yeah, we know Chernobyl. We're talking about the vessel. There was a movie about a Navy vessel, but Chernobyl we know.
Yeah.
Were you talking about the K-19 or are you talking about Chernobyl?
Actually, no, I was talking about Chernobyl. I couldn't.
Well, that was easy. I figured you were talking about the vessel that irradiated all the sailors. I mean, there's not many ships in Chernobyl.
That would be the equivalent of a North Korean vessel. It'd be like a floating Chernobyl.
Oh, I'm completely aware. Or a K-19 Widowmaker. So, which was probably more apropos since it's sailors. I'm just saying, dude. There's not many sailors in Chernobyl, so there's not many bodies about her. Go ahead. Tell me about this video.
So as a setup to this video, I watch several videos during the day while I'm trying to work, and it just helps, kind of get my wheels flowing through various political things. So what got me thinking today was after Biden's kind of announcement of the prostate cancer, Was it possible that the Democrat plan was to have Joe win? Then, after Kamala has stepped in, right after they win re-election, basically, to announce Joe Biden's prostate cancer, have Kamala then step in to fill in for the remainder of the administration, right? Remain in place for the next 4 years. That way she could technically run for another 2 terms rather, right? So was this like a 12-year plan? And if so, does this Howard Daniel Pfeiffer's analysis kind of play key into this? And just for those who don't know, Howard Daniel Pfeiffer was he sat on Obama's board. He was one of the advisors that President Obama had used for a lot of his advice. Like, is this going to make a good move for the Democrat Party if we go down this route? Right. And this was one of the guys that Obama would kind of bounce ideas off of. So he's kind of a political analyst that has a lot of carries a lot of weight with him. So when I heard this video earlier today, it got my wheels thinking about how the original Democrat plan for the 12 years to turn these into a series of wins, how this is now going to work against them. Go ahead and play that video.
Hold on one second.
And while he's doing that, I will also tell you that Howard Pfeiffer also had written several books.
Yeah, don't forget.
One of them was Untrumping
Mel
America.
and Deborah. I think it was 1776 and 5199, I think.
He had written a couple of books. Go ahead.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead. I didn't hear you were talking. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that Howard Daniel Pfeiffer was a former Obama staffer who had written several books like Untrumping America and Battling the Big Lie and Yes, We Still Can, all major hits with the Democrat Party. So when this guy comes in and gives this level of analysis, we should listen.
God, I hate when it does this.
Democrats lost new voters for the first time. Obama got 58% of new voters in 2012. Biden and Clinton got 55%. Kamala Harris only got 49.5%
Thank you, Mel.
of new voters, which speaks to the gains that Trump made. Younger people, and particularly young people of color, were coming into the electorate.
She says, go Kim, you rock.
And if that trend continues, we're in huge trouble. And so the message I take from this is anyone who thinks that we can get away with just tinkering around the edges, just hoping that Donald Trump becomes unpopular, or they nominate some Yahoo in 2028, or we're going to ride the wave of tariffs and inflation to a narrow House victory, is just rearranging the dictionaries on the Titanic. Like, we have to be willing to ask very hard questions. We have to be willing to evaluate every premise, look at how we govern, campaign, message across the board. Because right now, and this is where the Obama coalition, the Trump coalition point matters, we are on the wrong side of political history right now. We are the party that is hoping for lower turnout, that the fewer people that vote, we have a better chance of winning, that we are losing ground with the fastest growing parts of the population, younger voters and Latinos. That is a party that can win an election every once in a while if the stars align correctly. But that is a party that will look a lot like the Democratic Party from the 60s until the 90s. There has to be a fundamental change in approach. We just have to really look at it, because there is no easy answer here to what's happening.
Thank you so much, Deborah Boggs, 1776.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you, Mel, also. So go ahead and dive into this, Leroy. I've got my own opinions on this, but want to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think that this is because this comes from a Democrat strategist, right? This is a guy who's giving recommendations and a little bit of guidance to the Democrat Party. This is somebody who understands. This is somebody who is saying, hey, look, we are on the wrong side of history here. And we had talked about it before on the show. We saw that the ground that the Democrat Party was losing was exactly where Trump was picking up with middle-class voters. Whether or not you were talking about the union workers or single mothers or whatever the current faction was, Trump had made up a lot of ground in areas where the Democrats were trying to edge everyone else out. So for him, a Democrat strategist, to recognize that I think is telling enough to, it's almost like an endorsement to say, hey, look, remember that show we did about 6 months ago? We were right. And now we're hearing it from a Democrat strategist that is endorsing that idea. So it's kind of a kudos, a pat on the back to us to say, look, we warned you guys.
This reminds me of a game of musical chairs. And the Democrats don't have any seats left. Can you think, and I've asked this question 100 times on this show, and I'm just waiting for somebody at Fox News to pick it up. Can you think of a strategy that the Democrats are going to latch onto for 2026? Because here's the problem.
No.
They are very much looking like the Republicans of 2018, 2020, 2022, which are literally just playing blockade to any policy that Republicans push forward. And that doesn't work, because what you're saying is they may not very well like Donald Trump's economy, but you're not offering any solutions to fix it. You're just opposing every idea. To the contrary, where they do actually within real time have, as little as 150 days ago, have real time, real world data on what Democrat economies look like. They are not going to forget that in a year. People are going to remember it even more when the second quarter projections come through and inflation keeps going down. And their taxes, when they do their quarterly taxes for small businesses, see that Donald Trump's tax plan is not going to steal Medicaid and Medicare from them. It's going to remove the people who have no business being on it. And maybe it is 14 million people. Good. You're talking about billions upon billions of dollars annually. So what is the chair that they're going to run on? Well, I'll tell you what they want to do. They want to squeak by and win the House. That way they have subpoena power, so they can start impeachment proceedings against Donald Trump. That's what they want. That's what they're going to do, because they know that the American electorate isn't going to kick Republicans out of the presidency. We are in that 20-year gap where usually you will see 8 to 12 years of a Republican. You'll see switching of parties once or twice, and then you'll see a long stint. You see this with Democrats. You saw it with Bill Clinton.
Right.
You saw it with Bush Sr. You saw it with Ronald Reagan. You saw it with Barack Obama. And then you have the intermediaries. And there's a very good chance that you will have another Republican president for 4 to 8 years after this, depending upon who runs. If it's Youngkin, you Democrats better just kiss their ass goodbye, because they're not going to win this election. If Glenn Youngkin comes out of the gate and he runs, there's nobody they can put against him. They just don't have anybody. Youngkin is absolutely the John Kennedy of the Republican Party. And I've told you he's the secret weapon. And you may not like him because he's a big billionaire and all that. I really don't care. I don't care. This guy has done more for Virginia. And now that he's leaving, it looks like Winsome Sears is going to just literally shit the bed. And I'm going to have a blue, I want 9-month abortion and take all your guns governor. And this is the day that I cross over to West Virginia. Now, the good news is Youngkin more than likely is going to run in 2028. And if he doesn't win, that's going to put him in a position that a year after that, he can come back here and challenge the governor's seat. That's going to be a long 4 years for us. Go ahead, Leroy.
Well, and I want to fill in some of the gap there. So between now and a 2026, 2028 kind of time frame, what do we expect to see in the next, at least before the next midterm, right? And so the one thing that you mentioned, and I really wanted to hit on this, but I also like to shut up and just let you, just I love hearing you just kind of verbalize everything. Before is this fight against everything that Donald Trump is doing, almost as if to say, hey, don't do this level of progress, because if you do it now, then we can't take credit for it later.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So I think that's going to be piece one. Piece number 2 is they're going to focus on every negative economic headline that they can between now and the midterms. Because if the economy turns out to be pretty spectacular by the time midterms come around, then the Democrat Party has a diminishing chance of retaking the House. I'm just telling you the way it is. If the economy continues to grow and gets stronger and does end up working out for stronger for middle-class America and for poorer Americans, then the Democrat Party will have very slim chance at winning anything in the midterms.
So I was reading Melanie's comment. She says, then Youngkin needs to get his name out there before out there. People have no clue who he is. That's not true. He's on Fox News at least 2 to 3 times a week. He's sat next to Donald Trump several times. They absolutely know who he is. Hold on. I just got an email and I got to read it. Christine, just to answer your question, Christine wants to know if it's possible to go to Link Tap Go with donation amounts that could be done through debit cards, credit cards, through PayPal and Venmo. The reason why I use PayPal and Venmo is because they are a credit card processing company. I can't do credit card processing myself. I just don't have the ability. That's what PayPal and Venmo is PayPal and Venmo allow you to use your credit card to send money through PayPal and Venmo. It's really simple, Christine. All you do is sign up, create an account, you link your card, and then you hit send money to @TheDumbShow. And that's it. You're done. It just takes your money and it sends it. And you can gross up if you want to, because there's a little charge. I think it's like 2.5%, and say, do you want to up this so you pay the fee? And that's why you see $51.99 is people are paying the $2 fee. So you can use your credit card and your debit card through Venmo and PayPal. And it's also, I'd recommend it. It's very secure. It's all the transactions are 100%. I have every dollar that I own through my PayPal and Venmo. I don't even use the Standard Bank anymore. Everything's done through there. So, and the Navy Federal Credit Union. So to answer your question, yes, you can. But you go to Link Tap Go, you hit donate, and then just go to PayPal or Venmo, and you just sign up, create an account. Trust me when I say this, there's nothing wrong with PayPal. There's nothing wrong with Venmo. I know people went oogie boogie over it. These people were doing some pretty nefarious shit. And everyone's like, oh, well, they're going after conservatives. It's not just that. They were going after people who were basically conning people out of their money with cryptocurrency and selling fake goods and grifting them. So that's why. Sorry, folks, I'm sick. You can hear it. I'm having a hard time breathing through my nose, and because then my throat is also swollen from strep. So here's the thing. I'll just make a point. Glenn Youngkin is known in the conservative circles. It's not time for him to come out. He will do that at the 18-month mark. And yeah, PayPal also sends a code. Yeah, PayPal allows donations without creating an account too, Chuck says. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people say you only know Youngkin from the show, and that's fine. It's not his time to come out yet.
That's fair.
He can't come out right now. It'd be a horrible strategy. But I will tell you, he's buying poll captains all over the country. The billionaire class wanted him to run against Trump, and he said no. He said no, I will not run against Trump. And I don't think it's a good idea. It's not a career move. I'll run in 2028. And I think you put Glenn Youngkin on there, it's a good chance. A lot of people say J.D. Vance. I don't think J.D. Vance is going to run for president. I just don't see it. So I believe that Youngkin has a really good shot. Let's see what happens. But I'm pretty good at the predicting things. So we'll see. I'll let you know if that changes. Quick commercial break. Be right back.
The Dumb Show is built on real conversations, raw, unfiltered, and fearless. Big tech didn't like that. Facebook pulled out funding. tried to shut us down, but for over a year, you, our incredible viewers, have kept us going. Your support, your donations, your time, it all matters. Most of you spend 10 plus hours a week with us. Compare that to Netflix, maybe 5 hours a month. We believe we're worth that time, and we hope you do too. But listen, we don't want giving to feel like a burden. We want it to feel good. So take a second to ensure you're in a good spot. If you're in a place to give, that will be amazing. If not, just liking and sharing helps more than you know. Visit thedumbshow.com/donate. Whether it's PayPal, Venmo, or mail, every bit helps to keep us going. Dumb Nation, we appreciate you more than words can say.
Realize from our photo shoot,
Deborah-
some of my photos, I had a really fat neck. Just
No, 750. Deborah, did you give $50 or did you give 1776? I think, Ethan, that 1776 came in from. It says.
Wait, look at the bottom of the messages right there. At the bottom.
What about it? Where?
Very bottom. Like there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So today, 1776. Then John did 10. So did you do Deborah? Yes, you did. Okay. So
Those are the top.
I got it. It's bottom to the top. Okay. Wait. Come here. Did you do Carrie Ripley?
No, that
Okay.
one did not.
Go do Carrie.
Yeah, 21.
All right. And anybody? I understand it's baseball.
That one, I don't think that one came from the computer.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, okay, buddy.
Wait, Carrie Ripley is on it?
Carrie Ripley. Yeah. Okay. Jay said, you will see a Trump name down the line. One of the family members will step up. Yeah, I believe that. I believe in the next. Don Jr. is too young, and I don't think Don Jr. wants it. I think Laura Trump has a chance. Maybe not to run as president, but VP. I don't know. I've seen enough of Trump for a while. I don't want the Trumps.
yeah.
I want a new name.
Yeah.
And I want Youngkin because he's a fiscal conservative, and he is morally a conservative. He is pro-life, pro-gun, limited government. Carrie Ripley, nice spelling, Ethan. That is a butcher, buddy. 2110.
Jeez.
Sorry.
Thank you,
Ethan.
Carrie.
Ethan's having a tough night. So it's okay. He's doing fine. We hit goal. We appreciate it. Let's throw some money for Ethan so he can stop watching baseball because, my God. Anyway, so something to think about. Sorry, guys. My mom had to go grocery shopping because she's been working nonstop on helping paint. And now she's grocery shopping, and we're going to be done, and we'll be up till 2 a.m. working on this damn thing tonight. Don't feel for us. We're very happy. We can't wait to do it. There's a problem going on in the Texas house. Now, I got to actually stump at the Texas house in Austin. And I went there for the Comcast Political Action Committee. And I got to go and visit all the House of Representatives and go speak on behalf of net neutrality, to speak against net neutrality. And that's where I got to meet Dan Crenshaw and quite a few other legislators. And Ethan's doing okay. He's doing fine. Chef Lady goes, poor Ethan. I've been called worse. So what had happened is Attorney General Ken Paxton, who a lot of people know, was escorted off the House floor by Texas Republicans. And this is a big deal. Like, Ken Paxton's kind of a big deal. Here is Steve Bannon talking about it, and then I'm going to actually show you the clip. And it's interesting to say the least. Here it is.
It's blown up down in Texas in the House. Let's go to General Paxton, Ken Paxton. General Paxton, were you escorted off the floor of the Texas House today, sir, by some Republicans? Is any truth to these rumors?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I've spent 10 years in Texas House. I was in the Senate. I used to go to the House all the time. I've gone on the floor as Texas Attorney General in the past. This is the first time I was asked by about 10, 12 House members, come on the floor and talk to a few of them, say hi. It was no big deal. I was going to take a picture with them. And then I had a staffer come up to me and said I had to leave immediately. And I said, I thought former House members were allowed on the floor. She said, well, they are, but not the Attorney General. And I said, but I was a former House member. I'm Attorney General now, but former House members, my understanding is they were usually allowed on the floor, and I'm former House member. She goes, not the Attorney General. You're excluded from that group. And I said, who's saying this? Is this who's saying this? She said, Charlie Guerin. He's a state rep from Fort Worth that obviously voted to impeach me and was very much behind all of that. So, yeah, I mean, apparently he has sole authority, or the speaker, to grant permission to get on the floor. But I was asked by House members to take a picture. They made a big deal out of it. They didn't need to do that. And that's how it happened.
General, we're going to have Brian Harrison in a moment, and Brian's been coming on and give us an update over the last 5 or 6 days of what's going on in the Texas House. People's heads are blowing up. What in the hell is going on in Texas, sir?
Oh, it's always a challenge when the Democrats end up deciding who the leadership is, the speaker in Texas. And that's been going on for 17 years. And to varying degrees, all of them have some allegiance to the people that got them elected. And that is truly the case in every speaker that I've seen since Joe Strauss pulled this off in like 2011. The Democrats have had more ability to influence the process than they should, given the fact that we have a majority, a pretty strong majority in the Texas House, and a pretty strong majority in the Senate. The Senate is controlled by Republicans. The House is a mix.
Are you going to be part? Harrison's going to come in a second. He's talking about we're all going to get together tomorrow and work out a plan of how to set things right down there. I understand everybody knows you're running in this very important primary against one of the worst guys in the U.S. Senate, Cornyn. Will you help Harrison and the rest of the folks down there in, of course, war room to try to set things right? Because Texas is the railhead of MAGA. Trump won by 14 points after they beat off $400 million by Soros to turn it blue. This is all grassroots, and the grassroots are just being pillaged down there, sir.
There's no doubt. I mean, I was out for 9 months campaigning against Republican incumbent House members before this last session. We changed out 26 incumbents, either quit or were beat in a primary. So I'm definitely part of the process of changing the Texas House to become more Republican and to stick together as Republicans instead of letting the Democrats control who gets elected as Speaker in the Texas House.
General Paxton, where do people go for social media?
That's the first one. And then you can see that Brian Harrison says that conservatives killed a bill, and then the House leadership had members pretend their voting machines malfunction to save the bill. And he confronts Speaker Barrow. So what happened is a bill that was intended to not pass, conservatives voted against it, and then some conservatives stood up and said, well, the reason why it didn't pass is because our voting machines didn't work. Listen to this.
The following members have informed the chair that their machines malfunction. Representatives Dean, Bonin, Capriglione, Ashby, and Gates voted aye, but were shown voting nay. Show them voting aye. The following members were present in the chamber, but their machines failed to register. Show Representative Curry voting aye, and show Representative Keith Bell of Kaufman voting nay.
By my count, were there 5 machines that just malfunctioned on that last vote? Is my count correct? Was it 5?
Roughly, yes, that's correct.
What is the plan to conduct maintenance on those machines? Are we going to stand at ease until these machines get fixed, or are we going to transition to roll call voting? What are we going to do? If there's 5 machines that are not working, what are we doing?
Mr. Harrison, that is not a proper parliamentary inquiry.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Harrison, for what purpose?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
What would be the proper way of asking how the House is going to continue functioning with so many machines that are clearly not working?
That is not a proper parliamentary inquiry.
It's a very proper parliamentary inquiry. You're just choosing not to answer it. Thank you.
You ain't wrong.
Yeah. Thoughts on this, because this is inherently, Texas has 6 major cities: Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, El Paso, and I might be missing one. Corpus Christi, I don't know, but 5 or 6. Just there's a lot of larger pockets, but
Hello, everyone. Good
all of
morning,
those
Brandon.
shit. Sorry, hold on. We're going haywire. Oh, we're gonna go to the. Okay, sorry. It's a twister, Annie. They have a lot of pockets of liberal havens, and like Houston,
Yes.
at the center of Houston is all blue, and it's like Manhattan, New York. But outskirts, Texas is never going to go, in my opinion, blue. It could 20 years from now, 40 years from now, but it's a Democratic stronghold. But the problem is you have more of these legislators in these cities that are liberals, and they get to choose the House Speaker. And you're seeing that right there from removing Paxton, who the impeachment of impact. You guys got. I'm not going to go through Ken Paxton and his history in Texas, but the point is that he is a former legislator and has access to the floor. And they're saying no because you're an attorney general. You're not. And there is this power play that's taking place inside Texas where the conservatives, but more importantly, the Republicans who are supposed to be, Republicans are really never Trumpers and rhinos. And this is an epidemic. And Dan Crenshaw is a perfect example, someone who has completely lost the plot, in my opinion. So the question is this: how does this happen in a state like Texas that allows illegal border crossings, that allows the federal government to run a state which has always been anti-federalist? Texas has always been a conservative location. Yes, there's been Democrat strongholds, and yes, it has turned
but it's really kind of a 60-40 split, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. But in previous elections, Texas has gone blue. It's not like it hasn't happened. The point I'm trying to make is that when Californians and East Coasters move into Texas at the rapid rate and flee their party politics from those areas, and then come here and don't admonish those. I mean, they should be the people bringing tales of freedom and removal of liberal policies, yet they don't. They espouse how horrible it was, so they fled California and then still vote the same way. This is the problem. And you are having people come into blue areas or red areas like Virginia, like Texas, and starting to change the electoral map based upon these larger cities, which have more people. Therefore, they have more delegates and more legislators because the population is growing in these inner cities. So what do we do? How do you fix it?
That's a rough call, right? I'm not sure that there's certainly there's no straightforward answer. Texas holds like 38 House seats.
Yeah.
I think the issue is that for as many people that are moving into Texas for that taste of freedom, as we're saying, right? Either liberty or freedom or both, right? Just the desire to get government the hell off their back. There's still a huge portion of these deep blue pockets that are, can act as roadblocks in these types of hearings. And my deepest hope is that the people who want to see things happen in Texas, right, on the right side of the aisle, excuse me, are going to hear that. Like, hopefully enough Texans call their local Senate, Congress, and are just absolutely outraged by the way that was handled, and express that, hey, if there are that many machines that are not working correctly, maybe there is a lack of confidence in the system. And so they're going to demand what he just demanded on the floor and was shut down for. But you can't stop people from calling their Congress or senators.
No, and doing
and they should.
And do a parliamentary inquiry
Right.
that says I move forward with a roll call vote. Do I hear someone? Do I have a second? Or saying we're going to do a silent vote or a hands count or a yay or a nay? That absolutely is within the speaker's purview of their role and responsibility. Darren says in Texas, the big cities do not dictate, the state rural areas do. That's not true. It may in a general election. It may in a federal election. It doesn't necessarily mean that from state legislator, because Leroy's going to tell you the breakdown of those 38 representatives from Texas, where they're from. You ready? Listen. Leroy's going to look it up real quick.
I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, I know, but you should have been. You brought it up, so you should have done it. So I'll give you a second while you look that up. I'll throw you a lifeline. So I can tell you right now fairly accurately the breakdown. But let Leroy look it up. So, yes, the rural counties make up the behemoth of Texas votes. And I've said this a million times. But when the state legislature, the big cities have a huge impact. In fact, the seats that Texas have gained is because of the higher population in the urban areas. And that has a lot to do with illegal immigration. Because although they can't vote in federal, they get head count because the census isn't allowed to ask them if they're citizens of the United States. Supreme Court struck that down. So welcome to Democrats nurturing and harboring their illegal votes. So tell me the breakdown.
So again, I'm just kind of reading through this as fast as I can, but
Okay.
It looks like, so that map shows that, 13 seats are held in the northern end of Texas. A full 34 seats are held in the southern end of Texas in like 4 or 5 counties. Yeah.
There you go.
That is crazy. That's
Yes.
Kennedy, Wallace, and Cameron, or Cameroon. I can't tell.
Yeah. So take a look at El Paso. So these are the breakups of your districts: Lubbock, Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio. Look at Houston. Houston, predominantly 29 seats in all blue areas. So these are the congressional districts of Texas. Don't tell me that the big cities don't have a huge advantage. That's where the people are at. So yes, there is absolutely, you're absolutely right. The rural areas decide the state elections, especially senators. But state legislature is absolutely decided by the bigger cities. And this is the problem with the House, where you have a Senate who's controlled by the Republicans. You have a governor who's Republican. You have a Supreme Court that's Republican, but your state legislature isn't. And that is how they are controlling Texas. They're also, no, Janet, I know. Janet's like, I would have been here two hours ago, but the page wasn't showing up. Facebook has completely demonetized us, 100%. We make $0 now from Facebook. Nothing. Zilch. Nada. Not even bonuses. So they have completely taken away all my money. So it's all donations. Like Olivia and I were talking about it. In order to survive, we're probably going to have to bump to $400 a night because we've lost that revenue. We don't know what to do. They will not, they can't, I've appealed. They can't tell me why. They can't tell me why they took it away. They took it away the night of the big show. And they also took it away from thousands of conservative channels. Everyone got hit. Ryan Samuels got hit. I got hit. Damani got hit. Everyone got hit. So we're getting screwed. Facebook is killing us. So either I got to go to Wimkin and say, hey, Jason, but that's, or we got to bump donations. I don't know. But like, if you guys can overdrive, we need to overdrive. Like I'm asking, I'm almost begging because
and more than anything else, it's a matter of those likes, shares, and subscribes, because the more people this goes out to and the more people that start watching, then the more people that can partake with the, donations and so forth.
Well, we've got a couple hundred people on with Wimkin, Rumble, everything. If you just Go to linktapgo.com/thedumbshow or thedumbshow.com/donate. You donate $5-10. If everyone did that right now, we'd hit $1,000. It's just we've got to do it. I need some help. We're not begging. We're just telling you. It's Facebook demonetized us completely the night of the show, and I showed you guys what happened. Yeah, they're taking away money from everyone. They are, and they've stopped all promotions. Look at my follows. 239,606. I've been stuck there for a month. We got 40,000 followers in the first 4 months of the year. And I've been stuck at like 600. I'm not moving. Look at all these people liking the show. It just should be going up, and never stop. It's not. They're just throttling it. I can't even get like I was posting memes. Those memes were getting 100,000 million views. Now I can't even get them 5 views. It's just they're completely fucking us over. So it is what it is. Pardon my French. I'm sorry. It's not sympathy, but we're just telling you the show. If you think about it, how much do you watch every month? And if it's that good and you enjoy it, help out. It's like even if everybody gave $20 every month and just said, "Here's," we would crush goal. We just crush it.
Yeah.
And we would never have to talk about it. But it's hard, and this is okay. And a lot of people are carrying the load, right? A lot of people are carrying the load. And we respect and love you for it. We're not bitching. We're not complaining. We're just saying Facebook screwed us over. And remember, we were making $15,000 a month and $15,000 a month. We never asked for a donation, ever. Ask Leroy, 3.5 years, never asked for a donation. I turned down $10,000 donation offers. Nope, I don't need them. We're good. We're set. Didn't need it. As soon as they turned us off, and then we were still making a few hundred here, maybe 2,000 here from Facebook. Now it's zero. I don't ever see your memes on Facebook. Well, that's funny because you know what's hilarious? Between the month of January and April, we had over 100 million interactions on our Facebook page. You want to know how many I've had between April and now? Less than 1 million. That's it. I don't know what to do. We were just getting crushed. Like Twitter and Rumble are doing well for us. YouTube's doing better than Facebook. There's nothing we can do about it. Anyway, so if you can donate, help out. If you can't, share, like, follow, subscribe. So this whole thing in Texas is going to come down to this, is that immigration is what this is going to come down to. You have got to get immigration, illegal immigration, under control. And you have got to stop inundating these inner cities. This is their plan. This is why they said there wasn't a border crisis. This is why they said the border wasn't wide open. It was. Everyone knows it was. You wouldn't be hearing numbers that illegal immigration is down by 3,000%. Okay? You wouldn't be hearing that unless there was a problem. Democrats' playbook is to inundate their city and to have a replacement theory when it comes to Americans.
I heard a Homeland Security theory that suggested that the Democrat Party, was looking for a specific number of crossers per day. And that number was something like 30,000. And that's literally what tied the hands of all of the border agents and Homeland, is that was the number that they were after. They were looking to get about 30,000 people a day to cross over. For what purpose? That I wasn't.
We
really
know
made
what
clear,
the purpose is, though. We know.
But what I'm saying is that part of it wasn't never verbalized.
Well, California gained 11 seats. That should from between the censuses. That should tell you something. You control the House, you control the purse strings. You control the purse string, you have the subpoena power. It's the same thing in the states as it is in the federal government. Really, the key is the state legislature. Everything goes to the state legislature. When SCOTUS kickbacks policy, it goes back to the state legislature. When you want to do fiscal finance, it's our fiscal judiciary and financial fiduciary responsibility. It's all in the House. The House controls everything, and they are, in my opinion, the strongest branch of government. The House.
I think California was just on track to lose 4 congressmen and electoral votes. I thought New York was set to lose 3. Illinois was set to lose 2. Places like Oregon, Minnesota, and Rhode Island were all down. They were set to lose 1 apiece. And then most of the Republican states, like Texas, picked up 4, right? Florida got 3. Idaho, Utah, and Tennessee all got 1.
Yeah, but see, here's the problem. The influx of people from Tennessee are liberal. The influx in Utah is going purple, will be blue. You've got Idaho, which is having an influx of liberals who can't go to Colorado anymore. So they're moving to Idaho instead, which is like the white trash Idaho, or the white trash Colorado. So when you're seeing these depreciations in blue states, it's not enough to really impact, because all these blue people are moving into these red states and they're going to flip seats. We saw this in Texas. This isn't the way it always was. So you're going to see that these massive red areas will see an influx in blue people in these cities, and then they gain congressional seats. This is what's been happening. Should states move to an electoral college among states? No. Because each congressional district doesn't get an equal vote. It's based upon the populace. The electoral college is done on a national scale, so every single state has a say, because every state has an equal vote based upon the population. But more importantly, every state has a governor. The reason why you have the electoral college is that every state has the exact same voice based upon that there's one governor per state. And those are the people that the president's responsible for. A lot of people say he's the president of the United States. He's not. He's the president of the governors. This is the truth.
Right.
Your president is your governor of your state. That's your president. We just don't call him a president, but he is the one. Your state legislature, your senators, these are the people who advocate on your behalf to the federal government. Your actual representatives are in your congressional districts, your mayors, your sheriff, your county clerk, your school boards, your city council. This is your elected government. State, city, and local government is the end-all, be-all. So the president truly is the mouthpiece for the federal government to the states through the governorship and the gubernatorial. This is the truth. It's just the truth. He's not the president of the United States people. Everyone goes, he's my president. No, he's the president of everybody, of every state. He's the president of the governors. This is the best way to describe it to people. They don't seem to understand that.
Yeah. Well,
Because
the local government has always had more sway over an individual's life than the federal ever. So, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Donald Trump is not your governor, right? He's your president based upon your state leadership. But the federal government doesn't represent a state. It represents the states. And the states are led by the governors, not the senators or the state legislatures. It's the governor is your president. That is the best way to help you understand. Here is Kevin Bacon's wife. May have seen her in a few movies like Turner and Hooch and other stuff. And she wants to tell you that she's afraid her rights are going to be taken away to vote. We couldn't be so lucky.
Sedgwick, right? Something Kira Sedgwick?
Something like that.
Yeah.
How you doing?
No, she wasn't in Turner. She wasn't in Turner and Hooch. She was in something else. Doesn't matter.
I felt like it was important to get on the blower and talk a little bit about how I'm feeling and wondering how you're feeling about the state of our union. I'm finding myself pretty scared about a lot of things, scared about losing my rights as a woman, scared about losing my right to vote as a woman, scared about losing autonomy over my body as a woman, scared of my parents' Social Security checks, scared of food banks running out of food and not being able to replenish because they're no longer getting federal funding. Yes, the federal government can use improvement, and there's a lot of things that they've done right over the decades. So I think the answer to being freaked out for me is about community, and I feel excited that we're coming together as a nation on Saturday. You can look it up in your area. It's Hands Off March, and I'm just going to go and hear what I hear and feel less alone in the world, because I feel like that's really important. So if you're worried about anything that's going on in the world, I would suggest that you might want to get out there and have your body counted and your voice heard. And we'll probably learn a lot.
And if you move to a liberal city, you most certainly will have your body counted, as you have a very high chance to be murdered. Mm-hmm. Does anyone want to tell this lady that men got the right to vote about 10 years before women? Does anyone want to educate her on this? I mean, do we understand that there were several diverse ethnic groups of males who could not vote? Do we understand that we have oppressed ethnic-based voting, education, financial, fiduciary levels in this country of people of the haves and have-nots? That men truly had a protected status 10 years before women. So it's not like we woke up one day and said, let's suppress women. It was like, let's suppress the people who aren't a part of the elite, and let's go ahead and push against the forefathers' representation of individual rights and move to collectivism of the ruling class. She's scared of everything. Autonomy? You mean murder?
Well,
bodily autonomy.
I mean,
no, but hold on. Nobody's tattooing your uterus, lady. You literally are talking about murdering children. You want to murder people. That's what you want to do. You want to get pregnant, take no responsibility, and murder things. That is not body autonomy. It's not bodily autonomy. It's murder. So taking away your rights, taking away your freedom of speech, I don't see anyone suppressing her speech. So I don't know what she's talking about. What rights do women have that men don't? Can someone just name one right that men have that women do not? Just please let me know. Give me one right. One. Just one. Tell me one. Before Leroy goes on his thing, tell me one right that women have that men don't. Or that men do and women don't. We're going to wait for this because I just want one. Okay. Can you please name a right that women do not have to participate in that men do? I can name one.
The draft.
Draft. So there's one. Are there others? Sure. So look for a medical screening. Women don't have to have a pap smear in a medical screening. Why do I have to have a prostate exam to get health insurance, to get life insurance? Why do I have to have a prostate? Why do I have to have an EKG? Why don't women have to go ahead and measure their body fat when they get health insurance?
Right.
I've got questions. So am I going to sit here and cry, woe is me, that I'm an oppressed man? No, I'm just not going to bitch about it. But for you to sit here and say you don't have rights, give me a break. Go ahead, Leroy. Sorry.
Well, I love that the common talking point among the left is that they always point to the Republicans or to anybody who's on the right side of them and say, that's the party of fear. That's the party that is trying to make you afraid. And then she is sitting here saying, I'm afraid. You can't, no, it doesn't work that way. You have made your own self afraid. And this whole idea of bodily autonomy, right? If bodily autonomy means being in control of your own body, then that should also mean that I have the control to not take part in the creation of a new life that would take up occupancy within you. Right? If we believe, right, if the Declaration of Independence does hold value and all life has its inherent right to exist, then bodily autonomy and the Declaration of Independence, bodily autonomy as defined by the Democrats, are at odds. Tell me if that makes sense.
No, and if a child,
in other words,
that was rhetorical.
In other words,
okay.
Right? It was.
Okay, just say that. I already have the answer, Matt. I'm not looking for an answer. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that's the truth, right? Is that the Democrats always like to say that the Republicans are the party of fear, and she is sitting here saying, as a Democrat, I am in fear.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that Joe Biden sat here and lied about freedom and democracy and subverting democracy, and there was a constitutional crisis, and this guy literally had 5 people running in the entire country.
And an auto pen.
He was running. It's not even the auto pen. Auto pen is legal. So as long as I know, but I just still am going to say it's still a legal form of authorizing. As long as he understands, there's 3 basic. I've already went over this. What I have a problem with is the Politburo, unelected officials, Russian Politburo, which is essentially oligarchs running the government. people who are not elected, people who are installed to make the decisions for the country. This is terrifying. And anyone who thinks that Donald Trump is not in control of his cabinet simply hasn't been paying attention. But all the time they were saying freedom and democracy. Our country is in trouble. It's a constitutional crisis. And they've been doing it. Once again, if you ever want to know what Democrats are doing, simply listen to what they accuse the Republicans of. And this is what they're doing.
They telegraph it. Yep.
And if you want bodily autonomy, then have true bodily autonomy by not humping every Tom, Dick, and Harry and using your abortion as a reason for your casual consensual sex. If you want bodily autonomy, then have true bodily autonomy, because once you allow someone to enter you, it's no longer bodily autonomy. You're allowing others entry. So, and when someone impregnates you, that is their child as well. So
that's consent. You've given consent for that dong to enter you.
Yeah.
And thereby you have consented to the creation of the life that the act will then result in.
Correct. And guess what? Bodily autonomy ends the moment that there is another body inside of you. And if you truly believe in bodily autonomy, then you must also believe in the infant inside of you's bodily autonomy, and that you killing them goes up against that principle of bodily autonomy. So which one is it? Do you only care about what you go through and feel, or do you truly care about the individual rights of people? This is the difference between Democrats and Republicans. We care about individual rights. They care about collectivism. They only care about what impacts them. Individual rights are only important when it's convenient for them.
True that.
I got to show you.
You sound.
Hey, what's up with the skirt?
I sound like shit. And I'll tell you, it's nice to hit gold, but it'd be nice to scratch a little bit more of that surface. Okay. I'm going to show you a video. This is was an episode. I think it's like SVU or CSI Tulsa or some shit. I don't know. And please don't correct me. I don't care. I just don't care. What I care about is the content of the show. Watch this. We're probably going to get a copyright strike. I don't care either. What does it matter? Facebook isn't paying us anyway.
Hey, what's up with the skirt? Excuse me. You one of them he-she's? Maybe you got a bra on under there. Let's see, tranny. Nah, that can't be a girl, bro. You want? It's not funny. Get off me, freak!
Oh. Row.
She conscious? In and out. And she's not a she.
Transgender?
Boy dressed as a girl, that makes her a special victim, right? Yeah, good call. Apparently, 3 black kids were teasing.
Yeah, good call. You must have went to Intro to Detective 101 last Saturday between 11 and 2. You're going to be a great cop. I love your badge. I love all your salad. You're an amazing sergeant.
Her pulling up the skirt. Some others were egging them on. Recorded it. Then the Vic got pushed off the bridge and everyone ran.
So you're saying it wasn't your fault? That tranny started it. All up in her face with being weird.
Did you beat up on a girl?
He's not a girl, Grandma. He's one of them he-she's.
Wow.
Acts like one, wears makeup.
That boy goes around dressed like a girl. You should be talking to his parents, not my son.
Well, they're in the hospital. And you're here. So think about that.
Why would anyone do that?
That's not the issue. The issue is your grandson pushed a kid off a bridge.
You did what?
I didn't push him off a bridge, Grandma. I swear.
Then you better tell them who did.
It was Darius. Am I going to jail?
When your mom gets here, we need to talk, but the best thing to do is to tell the truth.
Darius? I'm Sergeant Benson.
Sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to do anything bad.
What do they think you did?
A teenager was assaulted in Fort Tryon Park and is now in the hospital.
I didn't mean to hurt him.
At least you got the pronouns right.
Oh, shit. What the? Okay.
Shit,
First of all, I've seen a lot of videos, and I've never seen any black people going after transgender people. It's usually white people or other women or transgenders, okay? I've never seen any black people do that. Black people know better. Black people usually go after other black people or white people.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. Every video I've seen of black people is usually them cold cocking Whitey when he's not ready, or robbing somebody or whatever, the bad ones. And then I've seen black people help and salute the flag and help grandma across the street just as much as I've seen anything else. But the reason why you remember videos of black people attacking white people is because that's called unconscious bias. You really don't look at all the videos where the white people are walking around with T-shirts up on their head as they're taking meth and zombie salts and completely methed out of their mind, and look at those videos and you just go, oh, well, those are just white drug addicts, white trash. But when you look at black people, you just don't say, oh, that's gangsters. A lot of people say, oh, that's all black people. But one thing I've never seen is a bunch of black people that racially stereotype or stereotype because of sexualization. I just don't see that. These shows are stupid. They're just stupid because they don't care about the crime.
Yeah.
They care about the woman's its pronouns. You know, you see how they were so offended because they said she,
Right.
but they didn't care that they pushed them off and cracked the person's skull. So these shows do what all liberals do. They focus on the virtue signaling and tell you where you need to be triggered. That's all this is. This entire episode is to show you how you should react when somebody misgenders somebody, but not if they push them off a bridge. Pushing off a bridge, totally acceptable. It's kids being kids. Misgendering, though, is a fucking hate crime. Remember that, you bigot. Go ahead, Leroy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a big part of that that says that for anybody who dresses outside their expected gender norms, then what the show is trying to do is portray them as being dehumanized. And to Matt's point, by a very particular demographic. So it's a dehumanization by another demographic
who's been dehumanized.
Right. And so I'm looking at this going, I don't know who I feel worse for. The kid who got chucked off the bridge, or the kids who are being, more or less portrayed here.
Right.
Because they're both wrong. Honestly, both the portrayal of what's happening with the kids was wrong, as well as the dude in the skirt.
I wonder if he got his period yet.
I don't know. We should ask tampon.
Because that would be a shitty day, right? You fall off a bridge, crack your skull, and then you find out you got your period. It's just like, oh, now I got a cramp for 7 days.
Diarrhea.
Bleed and not die. So, I don't trust anything that bleeds for 7 days and doesn't die. All right, here's Jordan Peterson's clip. I saved it. First of all, Bobby Brady needs to calm the shit down. Actually, this is Peter Brady. Peter Brady, if I was looking at this kid, see, Jordan Peterson's good, but he's not perfect. And if it was me, the moment that this kid started clapping wise, I would have looked at him and said, Peter Brady, shut up. Slap a little respect on it. If you want me to take you seriously, then at least act serious. If you want to have a schoolyard brawl, we can go outside and beat the hell out of each other, or we can have a debate. So calm down and go kiss Marcia and sit down at STFU. But Jordan, this is the problem. A lot of Republicans are allowing liberal activists, wannabe debaters to own them. See my puppy? Hi, puppy. Hello, Ash. So this looks bad. Peterson is one of the smartest guys on the planet. I don't know what he's thinking, but he's engaging in these debates that are beneath him. Why? Jordan Peterson is like a Nobel laureate or a Pulitzer Prize winner. Why are you literally talking to a kid who looks like he has a jelly donut Hawaiian shirt on and does look like Peter Brady? Here is the video. Listen to this. You're not going to be happy, Leroy. You're not going to like this.
Why is that relevant?
Because you go to a Catholic church, don't you? Or you've attended recently. You're interested in Catholicism, aren't you?
Sure.
All right. Are you familiar with their doctrines?
Somewhat.
Okay, you're
Their
familiar.
doctrines are very
how do they
deep.
regard Mary?
Why are you asking me that?
Because you're a Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh, what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
I don't know.
You don't know where you are right now.
Don't be a smartass.
Well,
and I mean
either you're a
'cause I
Christian
won't
or you're
talk
not.
to you if you're a smartass.
Oh, either you're a Christian or you're not. Which one is it?
I could be either of them, but I don't have to tell you.
Why is that relevant? You don't have to tell me. I was under the impression
private.
I was invited to talk to a Christian. Am I not talking to a Christian?
No, you were invited to.
I think everyone should look at the title of the YouTube channel. You're probably in the wrong YouTube video.
You're really quite something, you are.
Aren't I? But you're really quite nothing, right? You're not a Christian.
Okay, I'm done with him. Why is
Now, hold on.
That kid is going to go down as somebody who is never. I don't even know what his name was.
Oh, they love him. They love him. The left is just about. He took that. The man who took down Jordan Peterson. These people are so easily entertained. First of all, yes, it's titled Christian versus Atheist. Okay. But a Christian doesn't mean that you belong to a denomination. It doesn't mean you worship God. It doesn't mean that you are, ready to give a benediction right there at the spot. It simply means that you believe in God and you have Christian faith. Jordan Peterson doesn't need to be a Christian to have a conversation against an atheist, because here's the truth about it. Bill Maher says it best. Most religions on this planet are not monotheistic. Monotheistic, believing they believe in one God, right, Leroy?
Correct.
Okay. So most religions are not monotheistic. Christianity, however, is monotheistic, unless you look at Catholicism, who prays to saints. And you guys can tell me it's not praying to saints, but it's praying to saints. But we're not going to go there. The point is that Bill Maher says you are a Christian. I'm an atheist. And the difference is that you believe in one more God than I do. That's it. That's Bill Maher's argument. I believe in no gods. You believe in one God. That's the difference between atheists and Christians. And Bill Maher says, I just don't know. I'm not going to go ahead and speculate and say I do know when I don't. Jordan Peterson doesn't have to be a Christian to debate the value of Christianity. He failed to say this. All he had to say was, whether I'm a Christian or not is immaterial. And if I say I'm a Christian, then I'm really basing this entire argument on emotional state. What I'm going to do is argue the benefits of Christianity in today's society, Christian Judeo ethics in the formulation of our country, and the greater benefit of America over the last 400 years. This is now the conversation we're going to have. Where does Peter Brady go from there? Not pretty much anywhere. He attacked personally.
Well, that's the point.
He went after Peterson, and they're saying he won the debate. He didn't win the debate, but Peterson did not do a great job. He didn't do a great job, in my opinion, but that's just me.
I heard Jordan Peterson once say that most people think that when you ask follow-up questions that it's an attempt to avoid answering the question, when in fact it's an attempt to specify the words in the question, because people have different meanings for different words and different questions for that matter. So by him asking a series of follow-on questions isn't an admission of sorts to refute the kid's point. He's literally asking the kid what he means. And I think the problem was the format of that video. Jordan Peterson is an immense thinker. He likes to take his time. He likes to go a little slower. And if you ask him a question, oftentimes you will see him on stage where someone will ask him something and he will pause, collect his thoughts, and then calmly answer the question. So these types of snap back and forth type debating does not play to Jordan Peterson's strong suit, because he's too deep for that. It's not meant to be I'm going to piss in your Cheerios and call it a win for me contest. He's there in search of actual intellectual answers, and the kid was after just a 2-second punchline, look, I'm better than you and you suck type interview. And to that end, maybe the kid did win. I don't think that.
But what's the point of the question? Here's what do Christians think of Mary? Let's answer it for them. They believe she's the mother of God. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, is that not
when the kid asked that? I couldn't tell if he said, if you believe in Mary or marrying.
I believe what he said is what do the Christians think about Mary? But that's the mother of God. My next comment was, what do they think about marrying? Well, marriage would be between a man and a woman. That's what marriage is. And it's a holy sacrament before God. What
easy enough.
What's your point? What go ahead. Did you really bring me here? Jordan Peterson could have simply said, "Did you really bring me here to ask me that question?" Sure, right. I'll do the homework for you. Mother of God, and they believe in the holy sacrament of marriage is between a man and a woman.
That's an easily Googleable question. You're not going to ask Jordan Peterson that.
Right.
That's a waste of ammo, right?
Right. But obviously the kid's trying to trap him. And Jordan Peterson could have said, "What are you going to try to do? Talk about Immaculate Conception? And are you going to talk about Mary Magdalene? Are you going to talk about, what are you trying to glean out of this?" So him saying, "I'm not going to tell you," well, that's stupid. In my opinion, Jordan Peterson said, "I'm a Christian. I'm a proud Christian." And it's none of your business. It's like when people say, "Who did you vote for?" And you're talking to a liberal and you won't tell them. It's now I've told people plenty who say to me, "Who did you vote for?" And I'm like, "It's none of your business." That's different. But if you're there for a debate versus Christians versus atheists and you're not an atheist, then you're a Christian. Otherwise, you are at the wrong debate. So
well, and I wonder if the structure of the debate was more or less just to see what each of them believed in. So Jordan Peterson could have easily, kind of reversed the roles and said, "Well, are you an atheist? Do you not believe in God? Because in you not believing in God, you actually do believe in something, just not God."
Right. And of course, atheists will tell you it's not true. I just don't believe in anything. Right. Well, you believe in nothing because you discredit something. If you discredit something and you believe in the discretization of something, that's what you believe, right? And I'm with you. I think atheists do believe something. They believe God doesn't exist. That's still a belief process. And you have to have quantifiable data to do that, and you don't, which means it's based on faith. You can't disprove God. So therefore, you base it on faith, that there is no God. So atheists still believe something. So
they have faith.
They have faith. That's right. Somebody just said that Jordan Peterson may have been having a bad day. He's been having a series of them. I mean, we've literally and it's been about a year where Jordan Peterson has been stumbling fairly hard. And he's having a very big problem with this anti-Semitic push and his allegiance to the Daily Wire. And I think he's conflicted. And I don't know if he truly believes in Israel's push, or maybe he has a confliction with Netanyahu, or maybe he just doesn't care as much as he should. I don't know what it is, but it just feels like Jordan Peterson is kind of a fish out of water right now. And if you go back through a few of his debates and a few of his comments, they've been a little lacking in Jordan Peterson-esque. And let me just explain this. There are times where people's thoughtfulness and amazing ideas have simply ended. Socrates wasn't a prolific thinker at the end of his life. Right. Yeah. What did Newton do after, theory of overall gravity? Now you look at Einstein and you look at Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan worked up until the day he died and had amazing success early, mid, and late in life. But let's take a look at Stephen Hawking, who was an amazing astrophysicist at a very young age. In his middle age, did some of his worst work ever. The entire physics community disagreed with him about that matter can be destroyed. And he, almost to the day he died, finally admitted he was wrong about this. But Stephen Hawking's later life was completely abysmal. Take a look at Thoreau. His writings were fantastic from the beginning to the start. But look at Amadeus Mozart. You can see that you can be highly effective for a short period of time and then just fizzle out. And maybe Peterson has lost his ability to argue the finer points of something different versus, what he did as identifying the masculine male versus the effeminate male and the importance of it, understanding that Christian Judeo ethics were important for the structure of the entire society of the United States of America, that capitalism is one of the fairest systems on the planet. All of these things he was fantastic at. Maybe now he's just not able to convey the same ideas at the same veracity. Go ahead, Leroy.
Well, I think you're touching on a point that, again, we're going to go back to another expert, Thomas Sowell, had brought up. And in that he had some very harsh criticisms for Noam Chomsky. I'm talking about Thomas Sowell.
Yeah.
Noam Chomsky was this like Nobel Prize winning linguist or interpreter or whatever the case was. And then the guy ended up getting a little bit into politics, and Thomas Sowell quickly kind of pointed out, well, look, yes, he's wrong on this because that's not his area of expertise. Just like what we were talking before about with Neil deGrasse Tyson, who loves to bring up politics or things that are happening in current events, right? But he's an astrophysicist. He's not a politician, so he's going to get that wrong. And I think you're kind of hitting on that. Is that let's remember that Thomas Sowell was a psychologist first. He was a teacher. And so when you start asking a psychologist and or a teacher about their ideas of religion, yeah, I don't expect them to have all the answers, if that makes sense. I don't expect them to be so quick-witted and or in combat-ready mode to go to the mat on the idea of Christianity or atheism or anything like that. If I was going to do that, I would actually had gone to a priest. I would gone to a person of the cloth, a nun. To ask that of Jordan Peterson when he literally had written a book titled "We Who Struggle with God," yeah, obviously the guy is going to have some a much deeper thought process on it than anybody else. And so for the kid to be so quick-witted and dismissive about the whole thing, I felt to be a little bit insulting. Just my take.
Yeah, and I just want to jump on that Sowell was a Marxist before he was anything. And repudiated Marxism. And,
yeah.
Come on. Listen,
I love that.
Nelson Mandela was a socialist and later in life repudiated socialism. And Thomas Sowell was a Marxist, and he repudiated. Well, and Jordan Peterson had a crisis of faith, and maybe is still navigating that. If someone asked me today, Matt, what do you think of the Shroud of Turin, and whether this proves the existence of Jesus or not? And my answer would be, I don't believe materialistic items prove or disprove the existence of Jesus today because it's irrelevant to today. If Jesus survived as a human being, then he's irrelevant in mine, except for his teachings that have been transpired. But if he is, and Christ is king, that means he is king now and into the eternal future, which means that my relationship with Christ does not end. It just begins when I die. So, I think you got to ask these questions. Does the Shroud of Turin prove without a doubt that it's Jesus Christ? No, it doesn't. Is it convincing? Is it just laced with interesting tidbits of information from a scientific perspective and a theological one? Sure. But does it quantify and qualify the existence of God? No, it doesn't. Right. It just doesn't. Right. So
what if the Shroud of Turin or any of the physical evidence left behind was intentional just to get people mildly curious about religion?
Same thing with the Dead Sea Scrolls. What if we find the Ark of the Covenant? But there's a whole bunch of things that we can look at. It comes down to this. My relationship with God is based on faith. It doesn't need materialism to quantify it. If they came out and they said, well, DNA testing is proven, you can't prove to me that Christ is king from some physical evidence, because there is no physical evidence that can have you believe that. Your personal relationship with God, the connection, the thing that I talked about earlier today, that defines God in your life. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. Jordan Peterson may have a completely different opinion. He might say, hey, I might find some gopher wood that has, zebra shit from Africa on it. So therefore it proves that, okay, great. Well, then there you go. But mine is the personal relationship, which is inherently between my soul and my inner conscience with God, is the proof that I either have or do not have. And I think that's the relationship unequivocally that proves to most people that God exists. And you want him to explain that based upon the rules of marriage or Mary Magdalene or the mother of God, or something a prophet said? I don't see
literally a format where these people are going to be screaming at each other inside of 10 seconds.
Oh, how about you do that?
And you want to have a deeply philosophical conversation within that time frame. It was a terrible idea for a show.
Right. What if Jordan Peterson said, I'm not interested in what Christians have to say. What do you think? If I don't,
that would have been amazing.
It's so easy to turn it around on other people when they ask a question. It's a curious. This is what Jordan Peterson would have done 5 years ago. That's a curious question. I have one for you, if you don't mind. How about this? I'll tell you what I think about marriage or Mother of God if you tell me what significance and why you asked that question. Would you like to go first, or you want me to go first? And now you have a conversation where you've invested into somebody where you actually want to hear their opinion. And if they come back at you as a horse's ass, they look like a sanctimonious dick, and you win.
Yeah.
Turn them against their own selves. I understand. You just, when you give, Leroy said it best, man, you taught me so much. When you give people that power, and I fought against this, but I believe it more than ever now, because the moment that you take things personal and you get on the defensive and try to one up somebody, this kid is probably very good at what he does, which is gaslighting people. Why would you get in an arena with a comedian when it comes to insults? Why would you get in and play baseball with somebody who can hit the ball 420 feet? There's some things that people are good at. There's something that people are bad at. Know your revenue or your venue. Here's last two. Watch Jordan Peterson's interview with Dennis Prager. They discuss religion in that interview, and one of my favorite interviews Jordan ever did. He doesn't claim to be this amazing Christian. He's honest and responsive. Yeah, I've seen it, Brian. That's my point. That's my point. I would have loved to have heard more of that. I just think Jordan's having a rough year, and what that curtails and entails, what that entails, I don't know. We'll figure it out. I love Jordan Peterson. Leroy loves Jordan Peterson. I just think he's been having a rough go at it. That's all. Leroy, give us our minute, buddy.
Just a great show. It's been a little while since I've been able to get back on, and this was one of those shows where we had a lot to cover, and we hit it all in a timely fashion. I think that we hit up all of the big stories. North Korean ship that fell over. That's awesome. That the Biden prostate cancer thing with Kamala, we handled things like the economy and what the Democrat strategy is likely to look like in the before the next midterm.
Texas
and what
voting.
we expect to see in the headlines. So yeah,
Texas.
We covered a lot.
Jordan Peterson.
And then the big topic for the night was God.
Yeah, a lot of it.
And I think that's a healthy thing. I think that more conversations could and should be focused around that.
At times. Yeah. And why would you allow a family member to gaslight you? Well, because you've been told that the purest and most potent form of love outside of God's love, and probably what you have for your spouse, is family. And we find out that it's not true. Not all the time. Some people have unconditional love of their family, and it's fantastic, and it's pure, and it's great. And then other families are vindictive and cruel and simply want to see the demise of their siblings and the people around them. Families are just like everything else. They are great when they're great, and they are terribly bad when they're bad. So anyway, it's a good conversation. I appreciate it, Leroy. I always love our nights. Tuesday, we'll be back tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Olivia, myself, and Amy will be in the house. And Leroy, thanks for being here, buddy. And have a good night, man. You get some rest. I know you got a lot going on.
Yeah, you too, man.
And
hope
let's
you feel better.
Yeah, I need to. We'll talk soon, Bubba. Thanks for tonight, man.
All right. You guys have a great night.
Good night, everybody. See you at 7 o'clock.
Good night.
Bye.
Peace.
Maybe not.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.